Artificial Intelligence: Data, Analytics, and Innovation for Beginners by John Adamson. Narrated by Casey Logan. Chapter 1: AI History. The term AI was created in 1956, but AI has become more well known today thanks to the increased information volumes, advanced algorithms, and improvements in computing power and storage. Early AI research in the 1950s checked out topics like problem solving and symbolic methods. In the 1960s, the U.S. Department of Defense took interest in this kind of work and started training computer systems to mimic fundamental human thinking. An example would be the following. The Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, completed street mapping projects in the 1970s, and DARPA produced smart personal assistants in 2003, long before Siri, Alexa, or Cortana were household names. This early work led the way for automation and official reasoning that we see in our computers today, which includes decisions, support systems, and wise search systems that can be created to enhance and augment human abilities. While Hollywood motion pictures and science fiction novels illustrate AI as human-like robots that take over the world, the current development of AI technologies isn't that scary or quite that clever. Rather, artificial intelligence has progressed to provide many specific advantages in every industry. Keep reading for contemporary examples of artificial intelligence in healthcare, retail, and more. Why is AI crucial? AI automates repetitive learning and discovery through data, but AI is different from hardware-driven robotic automation. Rather than automating manual jobs, artificial intelligence performs regular high-volume electronic tasks reliably and without tiredness. For this type of automation, human inquiry is still vital to set up the system and ask the right questions. AI adds intelligence to existing items in many cases. AI will not be sold as an individual application. Rather, products you already use will be enhanced with artificial intelligence abilities, just like Siri was added as a feature to new generation of Apple items. Automation, conversational platforms, bots, and smart machines can be combined with big amounts of data to enhance many innovations at home and in the workplace, from security intelligence to investment analysis. AI adapts through progressive learning algorithms to let the information do the programming. AI finds structure and regularities in data so that the algorithm gets an ability. The algorithm ends up being a classifier or a predictor, so just as the algorithm can teach itself how to play chess, it can teach itself what item to suggest next online. And the models adjust when given new data. Backpropagation is an artificial intelligence technique that permits the model to adjust through training and added data when the first answer is not, rather, right. AI analyzes more and deeper data using neural networks that have many hidden layers. Building a scams detection system with 5 hidden layers was practically impossible a few years ago. All that had changed with extraordinary computer power and massive information. You really need lots of data to train deep learning models simply because they learn straight from the data. The more information you can feed them, the more accurate they end up being. AI achieves unbelievable precision through deep neural networks, which was previously unrealistic. Here is an example. Your interactions with Alexa, Google, and Search and Google Photos are all based on deep learning, and they keep getting more accurate the more we use them. In the medical field, AI strategies from deep learning, image categorization, and the recognition can now be used to find cancer on MRIs with the same accuracy as highly trained radiologists. AI gets the most out of information when algorithms are self-learning. The information itself can end up being copyright. The answers are in the information. You just have to apply artificial intelligence to get them out. Since the role of the data is now more crucial than ever previously, it can create a competitive advantage if you have the best data in the competitive market. Even if everybody is using comparable strategies, the best information will win. What are the challenges of using artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is going to change each market, but we need to understand its limits. The concept constraint of AI is that it gains from the data. There's no other method which knowledge can be integrated. That means any inaccuracies in the data will be shown in the results, and any added layers of prediction or analysis have to be added individually. Today's artificial intelligence systems are trained to do clearly described tasks. The system that plays poker can't play solitaire or chess. The system that discovers scams cannot drive an automobile or give you legal advice. Actually, an artificial intelligence system that finds healthcare fraud can't properly discover tax scams or service warranty claims frauds. In other words, these systems are really very specialized. They are focused on a single job and are far from behaving like human beings. Also, self-learning systems are not independent systems. The imagined AI innovations that you see in motion pictures and TV are still science fiction. But computer systems that can penetrate complicated data to learn and perfect specific jobs are becoming quite typical. Chapter 2: How AI Functions. AI works by combining big quantities of information with fast, iterative processing and smart algorithms, allowing the software to learn automatically from patterns or functions in the information. AI is a broad discipline that includes many theories, methods, and technologies, and the following major subfields. Machine learning automates analytical model building. It uses techniques from neural networks, data operations, research, and physics to find hidden insights in data without clearly being configured for where to look or what to conclude. A neural network is a type of machine learning that is made up of interconnected systems, like nerve cells, that processes information by responding to external inputs, communicating information between each unit. The process needs several passes at the data to find connections and obtain meaning from undefined information. Deep learning uses substantial neural networks with many layers of processing units, making the most of advances in computing power and improved training strategies to learn intricate patterns in large amounts of data. Common applications include image and speech recognition. Cognitive computing is a subfield of AI that pursues a natural human-like interaction with machines. Using AI and cognitive computing, the ultimate objective is for a machine to imitate human procedures through the capability to translate pictures and speech, and after that speak coherently in reaction. Computer system vision counts on pattern recognition and deep learning to recognize what's in a picture or video. When devices can process, examine, and understand images, they can capture images or video in real time and translate their surroundings. Natural language processing is the ability of computers to analyze, understand, and produce human language, including speech. The next stage of NLP is natural language interaction, which enables people to communicate with computers using typical, everyday language to perform jobs. In addition, some technologies make it possible for and support AI. Visual processing systems are essential to AI because they offer the heavy computer power that's required for iterative processing. Training neural networks needs huge information plus computer power. The Internet of Things produces huge quantities of data from linked gadgets, the majority of it unanalyzed. Automating models with AI will allow us to use more of it. Advanced algorithms are being developed and combined in new ways to analyze more data faster and at several levels. This intelligent processing is key to identifying and forecasting rare events, comprehending intricate systems, and optimizing unique circumstances. APIs, or application programming user interfaces, are portable packages of code that make it possible to add AI functionality to existing items and software application packages. They can add image recognition abilities to home security systems and Q&A capabilities to describe information, produce captions and headings, or call out fascinating patterns and insight in data. In summary, the objective of AI is to offer software application that can reason on input and clarify on output. Artificial intelligence will supply human-like interactions with software applications and offer decision support for particular jobs. But it is not a replacement for people and won't be anytime quickly. Chapter 3: Data Analytics. When data develops competitive benefits. Many executives and investors assume that it's possible to use customer data capabilities to acquire an unsurpassable competitive edge. The more consumers you have, the more data you can collect. And that information, when examined with machine-level learning tools, allows you to offer a better product that attracts more customers. You can then gather even more information and eventually marginalize your competitors in the same way that businesses with substantial network impacts do. Or so the thinking goes. Generally, this presumption is wrong. In most instances, people grossly overstate the benefit that information gives. The virtuous cycles produced by the data-enabled learning may look similar to those of regular network results, where an offering, like a social media platform, ends up better as more people use it, and ultimately amasses a critical mass of users that locks out competitors. However, in practice, routine network impacts last longer and tend to be more powerful. To establish the greatest competitive position, you really need them and the data-enabled learning. Still, few businesses are able to develop both. Nonetheless, under the right conditions, customer-generated information can help you build competitive defenses, even if network effects aren't present. In this short article, we'll walk you through what these conditions are and explain how to examine whether they actually apply to your business. What has changed? Companies built on information have been around for a long period of time. Take credit bureaus and the info aggregators, LexisNexis, Thomson Reuters, and Bloomberg, among others. Those companies are safeguarded by significant barriers to entry just because of the economies of scale involved in acquiring and structuring substantial amounts of data. But their business models don't include gleaning data from customers and mining it to understand how to enhance offerings. Collecting client information and using it to make better services and products is an olden technique, but the process used to be slow, minimal in scope, and tough to scale up. For car manufacturers, consumer packaged goods firms, and many other traditional producers, it required crunching sales data, conducting client surveys, and holding focus groups. However, the sales data typically wasn't connected to individual clients. And since studies and focus groups were pricey and lengthy, only data from a reasonably small number of customers was collected. That changed significantly with the introduction of the cloud and new technologies that enable companies to rapidly process and make sense of huge amounts of data. Internet-connected product or services can now straight collect information on customers, including their personal details, search conduct, choices of content, interactions, social network posts, GPS location, and use patterns. After machine learning algorithms analyze this digital exhaust, a business offering can be immediately gotten and used to reflect the findings and even tailor them to individuals. These developments make data-enabled learning a lot more powerful than the client insights companies produced in the past. They do not, though, assure defensible barriers. Building moats with data-enabled learning. To determine what degree a competitive advantage provided by data-enabled learning is sustainable, businesses should answer 7 questions. Number 1. How much value is added by customer data relative to the standalone value of the offering? The higher the value added, the greater the chance that it will produce a long-lasting edge. Let's look at a company where the value of client data is extremely high. Mobileye, the leading provider of advanced driver assistance systems, ADAS, that include collision prevention and lane departure cautions for cars. Mobileye sells its systems generally to vehicle producers, which check them extensively before integrating them into their items. It's crucial for the systems to be reliable, and the testing data is essential to improving their accuracy. By collecting it from many of its clients, Mobileye has been able to raise the accuracy of the ADAS to 99.99%. Conversely, the value of learning from clients is reasonably low for makers of smart TVs. Some now include software that can offer customized recommendations for programs or films based upon an individual's viewing routines as well as what's popular with other users. So far, consumers don't care much about this feature, which is also offered by streaming service providers such as Amazon and Netflix. They largely consider television size, picture quality, ease of use, and sturdiness when making buying decisions. If gaining from consumers was a bigger aspect, maybe the smart television business would be less competitive. Number 2. How quickly does the marginal value of data-enabled learning drop off? To put it simply, how quickly does the company reach a point where additional consumer information no longer boosts the value of an offering? The more gradually the minimal value decreases, the more powerful the barrier is. Take note of the fact that when answering this question, you should judge the value of the learning by clients' determination to pay and not by some other application-specific step, like the portion of chatbot inquiries that could be replied properly or the fraction of times a motion picture suggestion was clicked on. Let's say you graphed the accuracy of Mobileye's ADAS as a function of client use, overall miles driven by car manufacturers testing it, and found that several manufacturers and a moderate level of testing would be sufficient to attain, say, 90% accuracy, but that much more screening with a larger set of vehicle producers would be needed to get 99%, let alone 99.99%, translating that to mean that the client's information marginal value was rapidly reducing would obviously be inaccurate. The value of the additional 9 percentage points, or perhaps a 0.99 point improvement in accuracy, remains exceptionally high, given the life or death ramifications. It would be difficult for an individual automobile maker, even the biggest ones, to create the necessary amount of data on its own for any potential Mobileye rivals to reproduce the information. That is why Mobileye was able to take a dominant position in the ADAS market, making it a highly attractive acquisition for Intel, which bought it for $15 billion in 2017. When the marginal value of learning from the consumer data remains high, even after a large customer base has been acquired, services and products tend to have significant competitive benefits. You can see this with systems developed to forecast rare illnesses, such as those offered by RDMD, and online search engines such as Baidu and Google. Though Microsoft has invested several years and billions of dollars in Bing, it has been unable to shake Google's supremacy in search. Online search engines and disease prediction systems all really need substantial amounts of user data to provide consistently reputable results. A counterexample of a firm where the limited value of user data drops off quickly is smart thermostats. These products really need just a couple of days to learn the user's temperature choices throughout the day. In this context, data-enabled learning cannot provide much competitive benefit, though it launched the first wise thermostats that learn from customer conduct in 2011. Nest, obtained by Google in 2014, now faces considerable competition from players like Ecobee and Honeywell. Number 3. How quickly does the importance of user information depreciate? If the data ends up being obsolete quickly, then all other things being equal, it will be simpler for a competitor to enter the market simply because it doesn't need to match the incumbent years of gaining from data. All the data that Mobileye has built up throughout the years from vehicle producers remains important in present variations of its items. So does the data on search engine users that Google has collected over decades. While looking for some terms that might end up being uncommon in time, while searches for new ones may begin appearing more often, having years of historical search information is of indisputable value in serving today's users. Their data's low devaluation rate helps clarify why both Mobileye and Google Search have proved to be extremely resistant services. With casual social games for computers and mobile devices, though, the value of gaining from user information tends to decrease quickly. In 2009, this market took off when Zynga introduced its highly effective Farmville game. While the company was popular for relying heavily on user data analytics to make design decisions, it turned out that the insights learned something from one game did not transfer very well to the next. Casual social games undergo trends and user choices shift quickly in time, making it hard to build sustainable data-driven competitive advantages. After a few more successes, including but not limited to Farmville 2 and Cityville, Zynga stopped producing new hits, and in 2013, it lost almost half its user base. It was superseded by game makers like Supercell Clash of Clans and Epic Games Fortnite. After reaching a peak of $10.4 billion in 2012, Zynga's market price suffered right below $4 billion for the next majority of the next 6 years. Number 4. Is the information proprietary? Suggesting it cannot be bought from other sources quickly copied or reverse engineered. Having special consumer data with few or no substitutes is critical to creating a defensible barrier. Consider Audiobook, a Boston area startup we've invested in, which offers crop management systems that allow growers, now mostly of marijuana, to continually monitor individual plants. The system relies on AI computer vision software applications and a proprietary data annotation strategy to track plant biometrics not visible to the human eye, like early signs of disease or absence of appropriate nutrients. It then translates the information into insights that growers can use to stop illness outbreaks and enhance yields. The more growers Audiobook serves, the wider the variety of variations, farming conditions, and other aspects it can learn more about, and the greater the precision of its predictions for new and existing consumers. Contrast its circumstance with that of spam filter providers, which can get user data relatively cheaply. That helps clarify the existence of so many of such providers. It is necessary to remember that the technical progress can weaken a position based upon unique or exclusive information. A case in point is speech recognition software. Historically, users needed to train the software to understand individual voices and speech patterns, and the more a person used it, the more accurate it ended up being. This market was dominated by Subtlety's Dragon options for many years. Even so, the past decade has seen quick improvements in speaker-independent speech recognition systems, which can be trained on publicly readily available sets of speech informations, and takes minimal or no time at all to learn how to understand a new speaker's voice. These advances have permitted many firms to supply new speech recognition applications, automated customer care over the phone, automated meeting records, services, virtual assistants, and they are putting increasing pressure on Nuance in its core markets. Number 5. How hard is it to mimic product improvements that are based upon client data? Even when the information is special or exclusive and produces valuable insights, it's difficult to build a long-lasting competitive advantage if the resulting enhancements can be copied by competitors without similar information. A couple of elements impact firms' capability to overcome this difficulty. One is whether the enhancements are hidden or deeply ingrained in a complex production process, making them hard to duplicate. Pandora, the music streaming service, gains from this barrier. Its offering leveraged this firm's proprietary music genome task, which classified millions of tunes on the basis of some 450 characteristics, enabling Pandora to tailor radio stations to individual users' choices. The more a user listened to his or her own stations and rated the songs up or down, the better Pandora could tailor musical choices to that user. Such personalization can be quickly imitated by any rival just because it is deeply connected to the music genome job. In contrast, the design improvements based on gaining from the consumer usage of many office productivity softwares, such as Calendly for coordinating calendars and Doodle for polling people about meeting times, can be quickly observed and copied. That's why many companies offer comparable software applications. The second aspect is how quickly the insights from customer information change. The more quickly they do so, the harder they're for others to imitate. An example would be the following. Many design functions of Google Maps user interface can be easily copied, and they have been, by Apple Maps, to name a few. Yet, an essential part of Google Maps' value is the ability to predict traffic and suggest ideal paths, which is much harder to copy because it leverages real-time user information that becomes outdated within minutes. Only firms with likewise large user bases, such as Apple in the United States, can intend to reproduce that function. Apple Maps is closing the space with Google Maps in the United States, but not in countries where Apple has a relatively small user base. Number 6. Does the information from one user help enhance the items from the same user or for others? Ideally, it will do both, but the distinction between the two is essential. When data from one user improves the item from that individual, the firm can separately personalize it, creating switching costs. When data from one user enhances the item for others' users, this can, but may not, create network impacts. Both types of enhancements help provide a barrier to entry, but the previous makes existing consumers very sticky, though the latter provides a crucial benefit in contending for new clients. For instance, Pandora was the first huge player in digital music streaming, but then fell back Spotify and Apple Music, which are still growing. As we noted, Pandora's primary selling point is that it can customize stations to each user's tastes. Having said that, learning across users' his up or down votes allows Pandora to recognize music qualities that the user likes, and then serve that person's songs sharing those characteristics. On the other hand, Spotify focused more on providing users with sharing and discovery functions, like the capability to search and listen to other individuals' stations, thereby creating direct network results and enticing added consumers. Pandora's service remains available only in the United States, where it has a base of devoted users, while Spotify and Apple Music have become global players. And though Pandora was obtained by SiriusXM for $3.5 billion in February of 2019, Spotify became a public company in April of 2018, and since early November of 2019 was well worth $26 billion. Clearly, customization based on learning from an individual user's data helps keep existing clients locked in, but it does not cause the kind of rapid development that network results produce. Number 7. How fast can the insights from user information be integrated into products? Fast learning cycles make it hard for rivals to catch up, particularly if several product improvement cycles take place throughout the average consumer's contract. But when it takes years or succeeding item generations to make enhancements based upon the data, rivals have more of an actual chance to innovate in the interim and start collecting their own user information. So the competitive benefit from customer information is more powerful when the learning from today's customers translates into more frequent enhancements of the product for those exact same clients, rather than just for future consumers of the product or service. Numerous product examples have been discussed already. Maps, online search engines, and AI-based crop management systems can be quickly updated to integrate the learning from present customers. A counterexample is offered by direct online loan companies such as LendUp and LendingPoint, which learn how to make better loan decisions by taking a look at users' repayment history and how it correlates with different elements of user profiles and conduct. Here, the only learning that is relevant to current debtors is that from former borrowers, which is already reflected in the contracts and rates that present borrowers are offered. There's no reason for customers to care about any future learning that the lending institution may take advantage of, since their existing contracts won't be affected. For that reason, consumers do not worry about how many other borrowers will sign up when deciding whether to take a loan from a particular loan provider. Existing debtors may prefer to stick with their present loan providers, which know them better than other lending institutions do. But the market for new customers remains very competitive. Does data confer network impacts? The answers to questions 6 and 7 will tell you whether data-enabled learning will develop true network effects. When gaining from one consumer translates into a better experience for other consumers, and when that learning can be included into a product fast enough to benefit its current users, consumers will care about how many other people are adopting the item. The mechanism at work here is very comparable to the one underlying network effects with online platforms. The difference is that platform users choose to join larger networks because they want more people to connect with, not because more users create more insights that enhance these products. Let's look at Google Maps again. Chauffeurs use it in part just because they expect many others to utilize it too, and the more traffic information the software collects from them, the better its predictions on road conditions and travel times. Google Search and Adavi's AI-based crop management systems also enjoy data-enabled network effects. Like routine network impacts, data-enabled ones can develop barriers to entry. Both types of effects present a big cold start or chicken or egg obstacle. Companies aiming to build regular network results really need to attract some minimum number of users to get the impacts to start, and those aiming to attain data-enabled network effects need some preliminary amount of information to start. The vicious cycle of learning. Despite these resemblances, routine network impacts and data-enabled network impacts have key differences, and they tend to make benefits based upon the regular ones more powerful. First off, the cold start issue is generally less serious with data-enabled network results, simply because buying information is much easier than purchasing customers. Often alternative sources of data, even if not flawless, can considerably level the playing field by eliminating the need for a huge consumer base. Second, to produce enduring data-enabled network results, the firm has to work constantly to learn a lot from consumer information. On the other hand, as Intuit co-founder Scott Cook has often said, items that gain from routine network results get even better while I sleep, which regular network affects interactions between consumers and possibly with third-party service providers of complementary offerings produce value, even if the platform stops innovating. Even if a new social network offered users objectively better features than Facebook does, for instance, better privacy protection, it would still have to compete with Facebook's effective network effects. Users want to be on the same social platform as most other users. Third, oftentimes almost all of the advantages of gaining from customer data can be achieved with relatively low varieties of clients. And in some applications, like speech recognition, remarkable improvements in AI will minimize the need for consumer information to point where the value of data-enabled learning might vanish completely. Routine network impacts, on the other hand, extend farther and are more durable. An extra client still generally boosts value for existing customers who can connect or transact with him or her, even when the numbers of existing customers is already very large. As even ordinary customer products become smart and connected, new types of clothes, for example, can now respond to weather and track mileage, and crucial signs, data-enabled learning, will be used to boost and personalize a lot more offerings. However, their providers will not build strong competitive positions unless the value added by consumer information is high and long-lasting. The information is exclusive and leads to product improvements that are hard to copy, or the data-enabled learning produces network impacts. In the decades ahead, improving offerings with consumer information will be a requirement for remaining in the game, and it may give incumbents an edge over new entrants. However, in many cases, it will not create a winner-take-all characteristics. Rather, the most valuable and effective services for the foreseeable future will be those that are both built on routine network impacts and boosted by the data-enabled learning, like Alibaba's and Amazon's marketplaces, Apple's App Store, and Facebook's social media. Chapter 4. Steps of Information Analysis Processes. Companies generate and keep tons of data every single day, but what occurs with this information after it is stored? The brief answer is that most of it belongs in repositories and is almost never ever looked at again, which is rather counterproductive. Information can hold valuable insights into users, client bases, and markets. When coupled with analytics software, data can help businesses discover new item opportunities, marketing sectors, market verticals, and a lot more. The issue is not a lack of information readily available. It's the many companies are not sure how exactly to examine and harness its information. What is the data analysis process? The first thing to know is that there are 5 steps when it comes to information analysis, each step playing a key role in generating important insight. Now that you have a general overview of the data analysis process, it's time to dig much deeper into each step. Step 1. Define why you really need data analysis. Before entering into the fundamentals of data analysis, a company will really need to define why they're seeking one in the first place. This need normally originates from a business issue or question. Some examples include: how can we lower production expenses without sacrificing quality? What are some ways to increase sale chances with our current resources? Do customers view our brand name in a favorable way? In addition to finding a purpose, consider which metrics to track along the way. Apart from this, be sure to recognize sources of data when it comes to time to gather. This process can be long and arduous, so building up a roadmap will considerably prepare your information team for the following steps. Step 2. Data collection. After a purpose has been described, it's time to begin gathering information that will be used in the analysis. This step is important simply because whichever resources of information are chosen will determine how in-depth the analysis is. Information collection begins with main sources, also referred to as internal sources. This is usually arranged information gathered from CRM software and ERP systems, marketing, autonomous tools, and others. These sources contain information about consumers, financial resources, spaces in sales, and more. Then comes secondary sources, also known as external sources. This is both systemized and disorganized information that can be gathered from many places. For example, if you're wanting to perform a sentiment analysis towards your brand name, you could gather information from evaluation sites or social network APIs. Interested in economic trends? There are many open information sources to collect this info. While it's not needed to gather data from secondary sources, it could add another component to your information analysis. This is being more typical in the age of big information. Step 3. Data cleansing. Once data is collected from all the needed sources, your information group will be tasked with cleaning and sorting through it. Data cleaning is incredibly important throughout the information analysis process, simply because not all information is good information. To generate accurate results, data scientists should determine and purge, replicate data, anomalous data, and other inconsistencies that could alter the analysis. Although 60% of the information researchers say the majority of their time is spent cleaning up data. With advances in AI platform softwares, more smart automation will save information groups valuable times throughout this step. Step number 4. Data analysis. One of the last steps in the information analysis process is, you guessed it, analyzing and manipulating the information. This can be done in a variety of ways. One way is through data mining, which is defined as knowledge discovery within databases. Information mining techniques like clustering analysis, anomaly detection, association rule mining, and others could unveil hidden patterns in data that weren't formerly visible. There's also business intelligence and data visualization software, both of which are optimized for decision makers and business users. These options produce easy-to-understand reports, dashboards, scorecards, and charts. Data researchers might also apply predictive analytics, and this makes up one of the 4 types of information analytics used today. Predictive analyses expect the future, attempting to anticipate what is likely to happen next with a company problem or question. Step number 5. Analyze the results. The final step in analyzing the rise from data analysis. This part is essential simply because it's how a company will acquire real value from the previous 4 steps. Translating the information analysis should verify why you carried out one in the first place, even if it is not 100% conclusive. For instance, alternative A and B can be explored and tested to minimize production costs without sacrificing quality. Analysts and business users should look to collaborate during this process. Also, when translating results, consider any difficulties or constraints that may not have been present in the data. This will only reinforce your self-confidence in your next steps. Why is information analysis so important? From small companies to global enterprises, the amount of data services create today is just staggering, and it is why the term big data has become so buzzworthy. Though, without information analysis, this mountain of data hardly does much besides clog up cloud storage and databases. To discover a range of insights that sit within your system, consider what data analytics is and the 5 steps that come with it. Types of data analytics. Not all analyses are created equal. Each has its level of intricacy and depth of insight they expose. Below are the 4 kinds of information analytics you'll commonly become aware of. Number 1. Descriptive analytics. Descriptive analytics is introductory, retrospective, and is the initial step of recognizing what took place, relating to business queries. An example would be the following. This kind of analysis may point towards declining website traffic or an uptick in social network engagement. Descriptive analytics is the most typical kind of business analytics today. Number 2. Diagnostic analytics. Diagnostic analytics is retrospective as well, though it identifies why something may have happened. It is a more thorough, drilled-down analytical method and may use information mining methods to offer setting to affirm inquiry. Number 3. Predictive analytics. Predictive analytics try to forecast what is very likely to happen next based upon historical data. This is a type of sophisticated analytics, making use of information mining, machine learning, and predictive modeling. This usefulness of predictive analytics software application transcends many markets. Banks are using it for clearer scam detection, makers are using it for predictive maintenance, and sellers are using it to identify upsell opportunities. Number 4. Prescriptive analytics. Authoritative analytics is the analysis of extreme complexity, typically requiring information researchers with anticipation of prescriptive models. Using both historic data and external information, authoritative analytics could provide calculated next steps to a company that should require to resolve its question. While each business would really love to tap authoritative analytics, the amount of resources needed is just not practical for many, although there are some analytic patterns that we can expect to take shape quickly. Chapter 5. Powerful examples of AI in use today. The devices have not taken over, not yet at least. Nevertheless, they're seeping their way into our lives, affecting how we live, work, and entertain ourselves. From voice-powered personal assistants like Siri and Alexa, to more underlying and essential innovations such as behavioral algorithms, suggestive searches, and autonomously powered self-driving automobiles, boasting effective predictive abilities, there are several examples and applications of artificial intelligence in use today. However, the innovation is still in its infancy. What many businesses are calling AI today aren't always so. As a software application engineer, I can declare that any piece of software has AI as a result of any algorithm that responds based upon a predefined multifaceted input or user behavior. That isn't really AI. A real artificially intelligent system is one that can learn on its own. We're talking about neural networks from the similarity of Google's deep mind, which can make connections and reach meanings without depending on predefined behavior algorithms. True AI can improve on past versions, getting smarter and more conscious, enabling it to enhance its capabilities and its knowledge. That type of AI, the kind that we see in wonderful stories depicted on television through the likes of HBO's effective and moving series Westworld or Alex Garland's Ex Machina, are still way off. We are not talking about that, at least not yet. Today we are talking about pseudo AI innovations that are driving much of our voice and non voice based interactions with the machines, the machine learning phase of the digital age. While companies like Apple, Facebook, and Tesla roll out groundbreaking updates and revolutionary changes to how we interact with machine learning technology, a lot of us are still unaware on just how AI is being used today by businesses, both big and small. How much of an effect will this innovation have on our future lives, and what other ways will it seep into day-to-day life? When AI really blooms, how much of an enhancement will it have on the present version of this so-called technology? AI and quantum computing. The truth is this: whether true AI is out there or it is actually at risk for our existence, there is no stopping its development and its rise. People have always focused themselves on enhancing life across every spectrum, and the use of technology has become the vehicle for doing just that. And although the past 100 years have seen the most remarkable innovative turmoils to life than in all of human history, the next 100 years is set to lead the way forward for a multi-generational leap. This will be at the hands of AI. AI will also become smarter, quicker, more fluid and human-like, thanks to the inescapable rise of quantum computing. Quantum computers will not only solve all of life's most intricate problems and mysteries relating to the environment, aging, disease, war, poverty, starvation, the origins of the universe, and deep space exploration, among others. It will quickly power all of our AI systems, acting as the brains of these superhuman devices. Though quantum computers hold their own intrinsic dangers, what happens after the first quantum computer system goes on the internet, making the rest of the world's computing outdated? How will existing architecture be protected from the risk that these quantum computers position? Considering that the world does not have any formidable quantum-resistant cryptography, QRC, how will a country like the United States or Russia safeguard its assets from rogue countries or bad stars that are hell-bent on using quantum computers to hack the world's most deceptive and lucrative information? In a conversation with Nigel Smart, founder of Diadetic Security and vice president of the International Association of Cryptologic Research, a teacher of cryptology at the University of Bristol, an ERC advanced grant holder, he tells me that quantum computer systems could still be about 5 years out. Yet, when the first quantum computer system is built, Smart tells me that all of the world's digital security is actually broken. The web will not be secure, as we count on algorithms which are broken by quantum computer systems to secure our connections to website download emails and everything else. And even updates to phones and downloading applications from app stores will be broken and undependable. Banking deals by means of chip and PIN could also be rendered insecure, depending on exactly how the system is implemented in each country. Plainly, there is no stopping a quantum computer led by a figured out-of-party without a solid QRC. While all of this is still what looks like a far way off, the future of this innovation presents a catch-22, able to resolve the world's issues and likely to power all the AI systems on Earth, but also incredibly harmful in the wrong hands. Applications of AI in use today. Beyond our quantum computing dilemma, today's so-called AI systems are only advanced machine learning software with substantial behavior algorithms that adapt themselves to our likes and dislikes. While exceptionally beneficial, these devices aren't getting smarter in the existential sense, but they're improving their skills and effectiveness based upon a big data set. These are some of the most well-known examples of artificial intelligence that are being used today. Number 1. Siri. Everybody seems familiar with Apple's personal assistant, Siri. She's the friendly voice-activated computer that we engage with on a daily basis. She helps us find information, gives us directions, adds events to our calendars, helps us send out messages, and so on. Siri is a pseudo-intelligent digital personal assistant. She uses machine learning innovation to get smarter and better able to forecast and comprehend our natural language questions and requests. Number 2. Alexa. Alexa's rise to become the smart home center has been rather meteoric. When Amazon initially introduced Alexa, it took much of the world by storm. Nevertheless, it is effective and is extraordinarily capable in understanding speech from anywhere in the room, has made it an innovative item that can help us search the web for information, shop, schedule visits, set alarms, and a million other things, but also helps power our smart houses and is an avenue for those that may have restricted movement. Number 3. Tesla. If you do not own a Tesla, you do not have a single clue what you are missing. This is most possibly one of the best cars ever made, not only for the fact that it has gotten so many accolades, but simply because of its predictive abilities, self-driving features, and large scientific coolness. Anybody that enjoys innovation in cars needs to own a Tesla, and these vehicles are only getting smarter and smarter thanks to their own over-the-web updates. Number 4. Cogito. Initially co-founded by CEO Joshua Banquet and Dr. Sandy Pentland, Cogito is rather possibly one of the most effective examples of behavioral adaptation to improve the emotional intelligence of consumer support representatives that exists on the marketplace today. The company is a combination of artificial intelligence and behavior science to improve the consumer interaction for phone experts. These definitely apply to millions upon countless voice calls that are taking place on a daily basis. Number 5. Boxever. Boxever, co-founded by CEO Dave O'Flanagan, is a business that leans heavily on machine learning to improve the client's experience in the travel industry and deliver micro-moments or experiences that delight the customers along the way. It's through artificial intelligence and the use of AI that the company has controlled the playing field, helping its consumers to find new ways to engage their clients in their travel journeys. Number 6. John Paul. John Paul is a highly esteemed high-end travel concierge company helmed by its astute founder, David Amsellem. In another powerful example of powerful AI in the predictive algorithms for existing client interactions, able to understand and know their desires and needs on an intense level, the company powers the concierge services for countless customers through the world's biggest companies like Visa, Orange, and Air France, and was recently acquired by Accor Hotels. Number 7. Amazon. Amazon's transactional AI is something that has been in existence for quite some time, enabling it to make huge quantities of money online. With its algorithms refined more and more with each passing year, the company has gotten acutely smart at forecasting just what we're interested in purchasing based on our online conduct. While Amazon prepares to ship products to us before we even know we need them, it hasn't quite gotten there yet. However, it is most certainly on its horizons. Number 8. Netflix. Netflix offers highly accurate predictive innovation based upon consumers' responses to movies. It evaluates billions of records to suggest films that you may like based upon your former reactions and choices of films. This tech is getting smarter and smarter by the year as the data set grows. Having said that, the tech's only drawback is that most small labeled films go unnoticed while big named movies grow and swell on the platform. Number 9. Pandora. Pandora's AI is quite possibly one of the most innovative techs that exist out there today. They call it their musical DNA. Based upon 400 musical qualities, each song is first manually evaluated by a team of professional musical artists based on this criteria, and the system has an incredible track record for advising tunes that would otherwise go unnoticed, but that people naturally love. Number 10. Nest. Most everybody is familiar with Nest, the learning thermostat that was acquired by Google in January of 2014 for $3.2 billion. The Nest learning thermostat, which, by the way, can now be voice controlled by Alexa, uses behavior algorithms to predictively learn a lot from your heating and cooling needs, hence expecting and changing the temperature in your house or office based upon your own personal needs, and also now includes a suite of other products such as the Nest video cameras. Chapter 6. Why does safety matter? In the near term, the goal of keeping AI's impact on society advantageous motivates research in many parts, for economics and laws to technical topics like verification, credibility, security, and control, whereas it might be little bit more than a minor problem if your laptop computer crashes or gets hacked. It becomes all the more essential that an AI system does what you really want it to do if it manages your vehicle, your aircraft, your pacemaker, your automated trading system, or your power grid. Another short-term obstacle is preventing a disastrous arms race in lethal self-governing weapons. In the long term, an important question is, what will happen if the mission for strong AI has success, and an AI system progresses than human beings at all its cognitive tasks? As explained by I.J. Good in 1965, creating smarter AI is itself a cognitive task. Such a system could possibly undergo recursive self-improvement, setting off an intelligence explosion, leaving human intelligence far behind. By inventing advanced new technologies, such a superintelligence may help us remove war, illness, and poverty, and so the creation of strong AI may be the largest event in human history. Some experts have expressed concern, though, that it may also be the last, unless we learn about how to line up the goals of AI with ours before it becomes superintelligent. There are some who question whether strong AI will ever be accomplished, and others who firmly insist that the creation of superintelligent AI is guaranteed to be useful. At FLI, we recognize both of these possibilities, but also recognize the potential for artificial intelligence systems to deliberately or accidentally cause great harm. We believe research today will help us better prepare for and prevent such potentially negative consequences in the future, thus taking pleasure in the benefits of AI while avoiding the pitfalls. How can artificial intelligence be dangerous? Most researchers agree that a superintelligent artificial intelligence is not likely to show human feelings, like love or hate, and that there's no reason to expect AI to end up being intentionally humane or sinister. Instead, when thinking about how AI may become a risk, specialists think about two situations. The artificial intelligence is configured to do something destructive. Autonomous weapons are AI systems that are set to kill. In the hands of the wrong individual, these weapons could quickly cause mass casualties. Moreover, an AI arms race could accidentally cause an AI war that could also result in mass casualties. To stay away from being thwarted by the enemy, these weapons would be developed to be incredibly challenging to just switch off. So human beings could plausibly lose control in such a circumstance. That is one risk present even with narrow AI, but grows as levels of artificial intelligence and independence increase. The artificial intelligence is programmed to do something beneficial, but it develops a damaging method for accomplishing its objective. This can happen whenever we fail to fully line up the AI's objectives with ours, which is strikingly difficult. If you ask an obedient smart car to take you to the airport as quick as possible, it may get you there while being chased after by helicopters and covered in vomit, doing not what you wanted, but literally what you requested. If a superintelligent system is tasked with an enthusiastic geoengineering job, it might create chaos within our community as a side effect, and view human efforts to stop it as a danger to be met. As these examples highlight the concern about advanced AI isn't benevolence, but skills. A superintelligent artificial intelligence will be incredibly proficient at achieving its goals, and if those objectives aren't lined up with ours, we have an issue. You're most likely not an evil ant hater who steps on ants out of malice. But if you're in charge of a hydroelectric green energy task and there's an anthill in the area to be flooded, regrettable for the ants. An essential goal of AI security research is to never ever put humankind in the position of those ants. Why the current interest in AI safety? Stephen Hawking, Elon Musk, Steve Wozniak, Bill Gates, and many other big names in science and innovation have just recently uttered concern in the media and via open letters about the risks positioned by AI, joined by many leading AI researchers. Why is the subject all of a sudden in the headlines? The idea that a mission for strong AI would ultimately succeed was long an idea of science fiction. Yet, thanks to recent developments, many artificial intelligence turning points, which experts considered as decades away, only 5 years ago, have now been reached, making many specialists take seriously the possibility of superintelligence in our lifetime. While some professionals still guess that human-level AI is centuries away, most AI researchers at the 2015 Puerto Rico conference thought that it would happen before 2060. Since it may take decades to complete the required security research, it is sensible to start it now. Due to the fact that AI has the potential to end up being more intelligent than any human, we have no proven way of anticipating how it will behave. We can't use past scientific developments as much as a basis simply because we've never created anything that has the capability to, wittingly or unintentionally, outmaneuver us. The best example of what we could deal with could be our own evolution. Many people now manage the world, not because we're the greatest, fastest, or biggest, but just because we're the most intelligent. If we are no longer the smartest, are we assured to stay in control? FLI's position is that our society will thrive as long as we win the race between growing power of innovation and the wisdom with which we manage it. In the case of artificial intelligence innovation, FLI's position is that the best way to win that race isn't to hamper the former, but to speed up the latter by supporting AI safety research. The leading myths about advanced AI. A captivating discussion is taking place about the future of artificial intelligence and what it should mean for humanity. There are interesting debates where the world's prominent experts disagree, such as AI's future impact on the job market, if and when human-level artificial intelligence will be developed, whether this will lead to an intelligence explosion, and whether this is something we should welcome or fear. But there are also many examples of dull pseudo-controversies brought on by people misconstruing and talking past each other. To help ourselves concentrate on the fascinating controversies and open questions, and not on the misconceptions, let's clear up some of the most common myths. Timeline myths. The first myth concerns the timeline. How long will it take till devices considerably supersede human-level intelligence? A typical misconception is that we know the answer with great certainty. One well-known myth is that we know we'll get superhuman AI this century. As a matter of fact, history has a lot of scientific overhyping. Where are those fusion power plants and flying vehicles we were promised we'd have by now? AI has also been consistently overhyped in the past, even by some of the founders in the field. For example, John McCarthy, who created the term artificial intelligence, Marvin Minsky, Nathaniel Rochester, and Claude Shannon wrote this extremely optimistic projection about what could be accomplished during 2 months with Stone Age computer systems. We propose that a 2-month, 10-man research study of AI be performed through the summertime of 1956 at Dartmouth College. An attempt will be made to find how to make machines using language, form abstractions, and concepts resolve sorts of issues now reserved for human beings, and enhance themselves. We think that a considerable advance can be made in one or more of these problems. if a thoroughly selected group of scientists work on it together for a summer season. On the other hand, a popular countermyth is that we know we won't get superhuman AI this century. Researchers have made a wide variety of estimates for how far we're from superhuman AI, but we definitely can't say with great self-confidence that the probability is zero in this century, given the miserable performance history of such techno-skeptic predictions. For instance, Ernest Rutherford, probably the greatest nuclear physicist of his time, said in 1933, less than 24 hours before Slizard's innovation of the nuclear domino effect, that nuclear energy was moonshine. And astronomer Royal Richard Woolley called interplanetary travel utter bilge in 1956. The most severe form of this myth is that superhuman AI will never arrive simply because it's physically unrealistic. However, physicists know that a brain includes quarks and electrons arranged to act as a powerful computer, and that there is no law of physics preventing us from building even more intelligent quark blobs. There have been some studies asking AI researchers how many years from now they think we will have superhuman-level artificial intelligence, with at least 50% possibility. All of these surveys have the exact same conclusion. The world's prominent specialists disagree, so we simply do not know. For instance, in such a survey of the AI researchers at the 2015 Puerto Rico Artificial Intelligence Conference, the average median answer was by the year 2045, but some researchers thought centuries or more. There's also an associated myth that people who worry about AI think it's only a few years away. In fact, many people on the record stressing over superhuman artificial intelligence guess it's still at least decades away. However, they claim that as long as we are not 100% sure that it will not occur this century, it's clever to begin safety research now to get ready for the eventuality. Tons of the safety problems associated with human-level AI are so hard that they might take decades to solve. So it's sensible to start researching them now, rather than the night before some developers drinking Red Bull decide to change one on. Controversy misconceptions. Another typical misunderstanding is that the only people harboring concerns about AI and advocating AI safety research are Luddites, who do not know how much about AI when Stuart Russell, author of the Basic Artificial Intelligence textbook, mentioned this throughout his Puerto Rico talk. The audience laughed loudly. An associated misunderstanding is that supporting artificial intelligence security research is hugely questionable. Actually, to support a modest investment in AI security research, people don't really need to be convinced that dangers are high, solely non-negligible, just as a modest investment in home insurance is validated by a non-negligible likelihood of the home burning down. It may be that media have made the AI security argument seem more questionable than it actually is. After all, fear sells, and posts using out-of-context quotes to declare impending doom can generate more clicks than nuanced and balanced ones. As a result, two people who only know about one another's positions from media quotes are very likely to think they disagree more than they truly do. Here is an example of a techno-skeptic who only read about Bill Gates' position in a British tabloid may erroneously think Gates believes superintelligence to be imminent. Likewise, a person in the beneficial AI movement who knows absolutely nothing about Andrew Ng's position other than the quote about overpopulation on Mars may incorrectly think he doesn't care about artificial intelligence security, whereas in fact, he does. The essence is simply that because Ng's timeline estimates are longer, he naturally tends to focus on short-range artificial intelligence challenges over long-lasting ones. Myths about the risks of superhuman AI. Many AI scientists roll their eyes when seeing this heading. Stephen Hawking cautions that rise of robots may be disastrous for mankind, and as many has lost count of how many comparable posts they have seen. Usually these posts are accompanied by an evil-looking robot carrying a weapon, and they suggest we should worry about robots rising and killing us just because they have become mindful and/or evil. On a lighter note, Such posts are actually rather outstanding because they succinctly recap the situation that artificial intelligence researchers do not worry about. That circumstance integrates as many as three separate mistaken beliefs: concern about consciousness, evil, and robots. If you drive down the roadway, you have a subjective experience of colors, sounds, etc. However, does a self-driving automobile have a subjective experience? Does it feel like anything to be a self-driving automobile? Although this mystery of awareness is fascinating in its own right, it is unimportant to AI risk. If you get struck by an AI automobile, it makes no difference to you whether it subjectively feels conscious. In the exact same way, what will impact us human beings is what superintelligent AI does, not how it subjectively feels. The fear of devices turning evil is another red herring. The real worry isn't malevolence, but skills. A superintelligent AI is by definition excellent at achieving its goals, whatever they may be. So we really need to guarantee that its goals are lined up with ours. Human beings don't usually hate ants, but we're more smart than they are. So if we want to build a hydroelectric dam and there's an anthill there, too bad for the ants. The valuable AI movement wants to stay away from putting humanity in the position of those ants. The awareness mistaken belief is associated with the myth that machines cannot have goals. Makers can clearly have objectives in a narrow sense of showing goal-oriented conduct. The conduct of heat-seeking missiles is most economically explained as an objective to strike a target. If you feel threatened by a device whose objectives are misaligned with yours, then it is exactly its goals in the narrow sense that causes you difficulty, not whether the device is conscious and experiences a sense of purpose. If that heat-seeking rocket were chasing you, you most likely wouldn't exclaim, "I'm not stressed because machines can't have goals." I have compassion with Rodney Brooks and other robotics leaders who feel unfairly demonized by scaremongering tabloids because some journalists seem obsessively focused on robots and adorn many of their posts with evil-looking metal beasts with red, shiny eyes. As a matter of fact, the primary concern of the helpful AI movement is not with robots, but with intelligence itself, particularly intelligence whose objectives are misaligned with ours. To cause us trouble, such misaligned superhuman intelligence needs no robotic body, simply an internet connection. This might enable outsmarting monetary markets, out-inventing human scientists, out-manipulating human leaders, and developing weapons we can't even comprehend. Even if building robots were physically impossible, a superintelligent and super-wealthy AI could easily pay or manipulate many human beings to unknowingly do its biddings. The robot misconception related to the myth that machines cannot manage human beings. Intelligence makes it possible for control. Humans control tigers because we're not stronger, but because we're smarter. And this suggests that if we deliver our position as smartists on our world, it's possible that we might also deliver control. The intriguing controversies. Not wasting time on those misunderstandings, let us focus on true and intriguing controversies where even the professionals disagree. What sort of future do you want? Should we develop deadly independent weapons? What would you like to occur with job automation? What career advice would you give today's kids? Do you prefer new jobs replacing the old ones? Or a jobless society where everyone enjoys a life of leisure and machine-produced wealth? Further down the roadway, would you like us to produce superintelligent life and spread it through our cosmos? Will we manage intelligent devices? Or will they manage us? Will smart machines replace us, exist together with us, or merge with us? We do not know for sure. This has been Artificial Intelligence, Data Analytics, and Innovation for Beginners by John Adamson. Narrated by Casey Logan. The end. Artificial Intelligence, Robots, Applications, and Machine Learning in a Nutshell by John Adamson. Narrated by Casey Logan. Chapter 1. Q&A about AI. Here are some things you may question before we say anything else about artificial intelligence. Number 1. What is the meaning of AI? For many years, several descriptions of AI have been suggested. Because AI comes from a complicated set of technologies, there are multiple ways to specify it. Maybe the most common and accurate way to specify it is as a way of computerized systems examining data to be able to make choices like a human would. Here is a definition of AI from the European Union. AI describes that shows smart behavior. By analyzing their environment, they can perform various jobs with some degree of independence to attain particular objectives. One of the primary advantages of AI is that it can examine far more information than a human could. It can also dive deeper into the information with far more accuracy than an individual, and that makes AI a powerful tool for us to use as we make choices about our daily lives. AI is driven by data. In fact, it could not exist without a huge amount of information. If you're thinking about using artificial intelligence within your own business, you should think about the types of internal and external information that you have access to, and how to find and gather additional high-quality information that could be used to create artificial intelligence systems to perform different jobs. You may also want to see the meaning of AI by Wikipedia. Number 2. Who coined the term AI? The term AI actually returns many decades going back to the year 1955, when John McCarthy initially coined the term. The concept was so interesting that just 1 year later in 1956, he joined with others to develop the first AI conference. As you can imagine, at the time there was much less information available, which is essential for AI to be able to operate properly. For this reason, it has only been just recently that AI technologies have been able to progress in the effective tools that we see them today. Today, the majority of business advantages of AI come from a subfield known as deep learning, which uses huge quantities of data in order to evaluate it, discover patterns, and help people and businesses to make better decisions. You may like to see this deep learning course by Fast AI. Number 3. Does AI exist? Most people were first exposed to the idea of AI from Hollywood films, long before they ever began seeing it in their day-to-day lives. And this implies that many individuals misunderstand the technology. When they think about common examples that they've seen in motion pictures or television programs, they may not recognize that the killer robots they have seen were created to sell emotional storylines and drive the show business, instead of to show the real state of AI innovation. The idea of artificial intelligence can also make people anxious, especially if they're stressed that they might lose their jobs to AI tools. Just because of these fears, there is a lot of fake news and false information that gets spread about AI. AI does exist and is already being used in many markets. Because it is developing so quickly, it can be hard for us to imagine the ultimate effect it will have on our world. At this moment, artificial intelligence is very good at dealing with very narrow tasks, evaluating information and making precise choices based on the data. However, it isn't always very good at doing several types of jobs at once. This is called narrow AI. For instance, AI is very good at successfully driving a vehicle, as self-driving car technologies have shown. In fact, it could be better at doing so than the average human. By using the same AI tool for scam security, and many banks, as banks are starting to do, would not work. While you can develop an artificial intelligence tool to go extremely deeply into one task, it can't normally do two very different things at the exact same time. General AI, which refers to AI having the ability to do multiple things at once, is actually something which professionals have been forecasting for several years. Nonetheless, based upon my own research, I really believe it could take several years, even decades, to completely achieve this. So for now, we should concentrate on bringing narrow AI into as many industries as possible. Number 4, AI terminology. What are the most typical AI terms you should know? As I discussed previously, AI is comprised of a complex set of different innovations, and this indicates that as a field grows and progresses, we will begin to see more terms being used to specify what the innovation does. At this time, here are some of the most common AI terms that you should know. Algorithm, the step-by-step approach that a computer system uses to complete each job. Since a computer comprehends numbers best, the steps are assembled as math formulas. For instance, if x equals 1, then dot dot dot. Artificial neural networks, the term used to describe AI systems that simulate connected neural units, modeling the way neurons engage in the brain. Cognitive science, a discipline that examines the various processes of the human brain like linguistics, info processing, and choice making. The goal is to find out more about cognition. Deep learning, the usage of neural networks consisting on the many layers of great deals, millions of artificial neurons. Deep learning is perfect for projects involving substantial, complex data sets. Specialist system, a computer system that modeled the decision-making capability of a human expert. Expert systems are rule-based and generally use if-then statements. Another term that you should end up being familiar with is computer vision. This refers to a computer's ability to see. It's important simply because previously computer systems count on human reporting for things that need vision. Now computer systems can simulate this capability. Computer systems' visions can be used for many purposes, particularly in the security industry and for quality assurance. The applications for computer system vision will be a vast array and are very likely to grow in the next few years. There are already cloud-based computer system vision services that allow firms to buy innovation from outside vendors so that they can benefit from it immediately without needing to develop their own tools from scratch. The other term you should know is natural language translation. That is the ability of a computer system to hear something that is said to it and after the answer back to the user. You could be knowledgeable about this technology if you have ever used a chatbot or a wise assistant like Amazon's Alexa or Google Home. Thanks to these tools, AI can be used in the house and on the go. A clever assistant can search information for us, reviewing answers available online and communicating the best results back to us. We can use these tools to ask something like, "What is the weather like today?" and a lot more complicated questions and get brief and precise answers back. Gradually, these features will continue to grow and develop, enabling AI tools to perform even harder tasks, like doing marketing research for organizations. For now, firms should start becoming acquainted with these tools so that they can leverage them quickly and efficiently as they end up being more advanced. Can artificial intelligence threaten? Artificial intelligence is a tool. Like many tools, it's dangerous totally depending on human beings and the ways that they use it. Think about a hammer. It can be used for great things like building a home, but it can also be used to hurt somebody else. Unlike a hammer, however, which can only be used by one person at a time, with relatively little impact, artificial intelligence can be created by a single person and spread out around, which can multiply its power for good or evil. One way that AI can be dangerous is when it is used to produce self-governing weapons. Presently, almost every large country is spending a lot of resources on the creation of independent weapons that can be used in upcoming conflicts. This is a harmful precedent for the application of AI. At this moment, there is a petition that was created by the Future of Life Institute to help stop the creation and spread of these types of weapons. I have signed it myself and highly suggest that you do the exact same. Another matter in which artificial intelligence can be hazardous is when it is applied to societies without due contemplation and analysis of the long-lasting ethical ramifications that might develop. For instance, there is a threat to building a civilization where certain decisions are made purely based on an AI algorithm. For instance, who will receive prison time for criminal offenses? In the USA, criminal risk assessment algorithms are already being used to analyze whether a person is likely to reoffend in the future. Many civil rights groups protest the use of these sorts of tools, saying that they can make wrong decisions and send innocent people to jail. AI will be used in a similar style to affect choice making in different parts of civilization, such as financing and education, and it's very highly likely that our first machine learning models to be used will be prejudiced. When AI tools are used within a society, the algorithms that they are based on should be transparent, enabling us to confirm decisions made through the tools after the fact. They should also be created to be secure against the efforts of hackers to change the algorithms behind the AI. Rather than relying totally on AI to make sure essential decisions within a society's systems should always be created in such a way that the AI analysis is used together with human input. Number 6. How will AI change the future? The effect of AI will be greater and will happen faster than we can prepare for it. That will likely challenge or interfere with just about every little thing we've experienced in our lives and in civilization as a whole. This will have a favorable impact in lots of ways, creating chances for the ones that are early to adopt new tools and follow patterns as changes happen. But it will also be difficult, disappointing, and confusing for people who ignore or aren't totally prepared for the changes that AI will bring. To remain on top of the changes and difficulties that will come about from the introduction of artificial intelligence tools, I suggest watching new trends on 3 different levels. Separately, it can be handy to create a map of the ways of the world around us is very likely to change over the next 5 to 7 years. In order to do this, think outside the box, analyze new trends, and think critically about the information you encounter. Consider the ways that you can leverage new tools to make a favorable effect for yourself and for society at large. As a society, politicians and decision makers really need to use this information and artificial intelligence correctly when making choices. Those decisions should be evidence based and able to individually validate after the fact, rather than making on the basis of political philosophy that will be a substantial obstacle for most nations, as many policymakers don't have typical comprehension of the ways in which AI can be used to make decisions. To leverage artificial intelligence tools is the best possible way. There will really need to be a consensus among leaders about the ways of AI and how it will be used. When used properly, AI systems can be used to favorably impact civil services like healthcare, education, and transportation. The nations that are quickest to use AI in these parts will acquire the greatest advantages. For businesses, many firms are already working in a digital economy and must be prepared to harness the power of AI, running pilot projects to check their ideas. For instance, a business can begin to create AI-based chatbots for client service. Management teams within the company should start thinking about how they can introduce AI into their tactical plan of the next 2 to 3 years, which also considering how their business models could change over the next 5 years as a consequence of using artificial intelligence technologies. Companies that aren't prepared to use AI may be left behind. Number 7. Why do we need AI? Life would be much easier and simpler to comprehend if we did not have all the innovations that are growing on an exponential speed. Artificial intelligence, blockchain, 3D printing, Internet of Things, and impacting each area of our lives. The fundamental premise of the artificial intelligence is that it allows the computer system program to learn, rather than needing to be specifically set to perform certain tasks. Just because AI computers can now learn how to dig through many sets of data and activities, they require human intelligence. The more information the AI has, the better results it can produce. Our positive outcomes of this is that AI will make our lives better in certain areas in which we need more sample data. Examining research study data and providing instructors and students with suggestions on how to study better. Another enormous benefit of artificial intelligence is that it is kind of already helping to improve the lives of children all over the world. For example, AI will be able to help perform many jobs, and jobs which are too unsafe for people. Why should you study AI? Delighted to study the Python and C++ programming languages? Although doing so would work, lots of, including myself, do not have the time or patience to learn the usages, which are usually used for developing artificial intelligence applications. If you are currently participating in college or have an interest in discovering them, I must highly motivate you to do so, even though it can be far more useful to learn how to apply AI than actually cook it. This is because finding experienced coders is now easier than ever before of freelance sites like Fiverr and Upwork. I strongly recommend believing that everyone needs to study and find out about these trace parts associated with AI. What is artificial intelligence? How can I use it in my area of interest? How will it change our short term memory and long lasting future? What are the difficulties and opportunity presented by AI? Everyone can take advantage of learning more about AI, even if you have no interest in learning how to code. I prompt you to develop an interest in AI and try to understand the effect it will have on our society. Number 10. Will China be the AI superpower? The basic answer to this question is yes. How China is achieving this is rather interesting. China has created a national AI team consisting of top AI innovation firms such as Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent. The goal is to be the world leader of AI by 2030, and China is currently one of the only countries that has set this objective. In general, the Chinese have more reputation of being a lot more hardworking than Americans or Europeans, and to me, it is quite apparent that they will reach their objective. The first stage of China's artificial intelligence plan, the nation wants to focus and work on these 7 key parts: an intelligent linked automobile, an ICV, intelligent service robots, smart unmanned aerial vehicles, computer aided medical imaging diagnosis systems, video image recognition, artificial audio intelligence, AAI, and computer system translation. This basically means that people in China's largest cities will quickly see many artificially connected vehicles, self driving vehicles, and intelligent service robots. Nonetheless, being an AI superpower doesn't always equal to having the residents with the best sense or wellness, or guaranteeing that the wealth generated by AI is distributed fairly among the country's population. For this, I predict the European countries will take the lead, showing the rest of the world the value of applying AI morally and fairly, and sharing the benefits similarly throughout society. Here, you can read how Finland adapts to the future of artificial intelligence. Number 11. What are the most effective firms? This is just one of the most normal questions on artificial intelligence. Essentially, every huge technology company has the number one goal of being an essential player in the artificial intelligence market, supplying artificial intelligence services and products to consumers. Google. At this moment, it's safe to say that Google has a head start, which includes the most interesting artificial intelligence items and the most deep and complete artificial intelligence research activities. In fact, Google has changed the name of its research center to Google AI, demonstrating just how crucial AI research is to the company. Google recently announced some new features in its AI assistant can manage, including making calls and reserving visits and appointments in an exceptionally lifelike voice. Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, Facebook, IBM, and NVIDIA. All of these firms are operating in several crucial areas so as to offer AI products and options. They are also all contending to utilize the best AI skills and attempting to enhance their AI research efforts. One of these 6 firms, I would say that Apple is currently the one with the weakest AI activities. In the meantime, Amazon is probably growing the fastest in the customer AI product field by offering Amazon Alexa powered software, which can be embedded in almost each gadget. Chinese artificial intelligence companies, Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent, are leading the Chinese AI efforts. As pointed out earlier, these firms are growing rapidly in each area and must be carefully followed by everyone interested in the future of artificial intelligence. Number 12. What are some common advantages of AI innovation? As artificial intelligence will affect so many parts of our lives and businesses, there are actually enormous quantities of direct and indirect advantages that can be brought about thanks to AI. Here is a list of some of the essential benefits. AI and hardship. AI will be used to fight extreme poverty and enhance quality of life for people in remote areas. AI and everyday life. AI and robotics can handle tasks that are dangerous, boring, or challenging for people. AI and travel. AI will power independent lorries, which can help generate improved traffic effectiveness, less expensive movement choices, and greater safety on the streets. AI and world peace. Artificial intelligence research and development can be used to help in the quest for world peace. AI and companies' opportunities. AI will produce remarkable opportunities for business owners and organizations worldwide, and it is also increased productivity. AI and service procedures. AI will produce enhancements to nearly each business process. AI and industries. Artificial intelligence will significantly transform nearly each industrial industry. When talking about the benefits, we should also highlight the drawbacks and obstacles created by the development of AI. This is specifically essential since the insufficient public discussion about the subject. This is in big part simply because the tech leaders who appear in the media rarely point out possible disadvantages, naturally choosing to concentrate on the advantages instead. There are plainly many exceptions, like Elon Musk and Richard Branson, who advocate for a universal standard income, which would be the way to basically provide money for nothing to those peoples whose jobs have been displaced from automation and AI. Chapter 2. Chatbots. Recently, new tool designs to streamline the interaction between human beings and computers have hit the market. Chatbots, or virtual assistants. In banking, chatbots and virtual assistants are some of the market's most recent tools designed to streamline the interaction between human beings and computer. Just what is a chatbot? A chatbot is an expert system AI software application that can mimic a discussion or a chat with a user in natural language through messaging applications, sites, mobile apps, or through the telephone. Why are chatbots crucial? A chatbot is often referred to as one of the most sophisticated and promising expressions of interaction between people and machines. Even so, from a technical viewpoint, a chatbot only represents the natural advancement of concern answering leveraging natural language processing, NLP. Creating reactions to questions in natural language is one of the most typical examples of natural language processing and used in different enterprises and use applications. Behind the scenes. How chatbots works. There are two different tasks at the core of a chatbot. Number 1, user demand analysis. Number 2, returning the response. Number 1, user request analysis. This is the first job that a chatbot performs. It analyzes the user's request to determine the user's intent and to draw out relative entities. The ability to identify the user's intent and extract data and pertinent entries included in this user's demand is the first condition of the most pertinent step at the core of a chat box. If you are not able to correctly understand the user's requests, you won't be able to provide the right answer. Number 2, the reaction. Once the user's influence has been identified, the chatbot must provide the proper response for the user's demand. The answer may be a generic and predefined text, a text retrieved from a knowledge base that contains different answers, a contextualized piece of information based on the information the user has provided, data stored in the enterprise system, the outcome of the action that is a chatbot performing by communicating with one or more application, an ambiguous question that helps the chatbot to correctly understand the user's requests. Why chatbots are essential. Chatbot applications improve interactions between people and services, boosting consumer experience. Meanwhile, they offer firms new chances to enhance the consumer's engagement processes and functional effectiveness by decreasing the typical cost of customer service. To be successful, a chatbot resolution should have the ability to effectively perform both of the tasks. Human support plays an essential role here. Despite the sort of method and platform human interface is vital in setting up, training and enhancing the chatbot system. Which chatbot application is right for you? There are different approaches and tools that you can use to develop a chatbot, depending on what the usage case You want to deal with some chatbot technologies are more appropriate than others. In order to achieve the preferred results, the combination of different artificial intelligence forms, such as natural language processing, artificial intelligence, and semantic understanding, could be the best alternative. Chapter 3. What is robotics? Robotics is the crossway of science, engineering, and innovation that produces machines called robots that substitute or reproduce human actions. Pop culture has always been captivated with robots: R2-D2, Optimus Prime, Wall-E. Those over-exaggerated humanoid concepts of robots typically look like a caricature of the real thing. Or are they more forward-thinking than we understand? Robotics are getting intellectual and mechanical abilities that do not put the possibility of R2-D2-like devices out of reach for the future. As innovation advances, so too does the scope at what's considered robotics. In 2005, 90% of all robots could be found putting together cars in automotive factories. Those robots consist mainly of mechanical arms entrusted with welding or screwing on certain parts of an automobile. Today we are seeing developed and broadened meaning of robotics that includes the development, creation, and use of bots that explore the Earth's harshest conditions. Robots that assist in law enforcement, and even robots that are helped in practically each facet of healthcare. While the general world of robotics is broadening, a robot has some constant qualities. Robots all include some sort of mechanical construction. The mechanical element of a robotic helps it complete tasks in its environment for which it is designed. Here is an example. In the Mars 2020 rover's wheels are individually motorized and made from titanium tubing that help it firmly grip the extreme terrain on the red planet. Robotics really need electrical components that control and power this machinery. Basically, an electrical existing, a battery for instance, is needed to power a huge majority of robots. Robots include at least some level of computer system programming. Without a set of code telling it what to do, a robot would just be another piece of basic equipment. Placing a program into the robotic gives it the capability to know when and how to carry out a task. The robotics market is still fairly young, but has already made remarkable strides. From the deepest depths of our oceans to the highest heights of our outer space, robots can be found performing jobs that people couldn't imagine accomplishing. Kinds of robots. Mechanical bots come in all shapes and sizes to efficiently carry out the job for which they've been developed. From the 0.2 millimeter long RoboBee to the 200-meter long robotic shipping vessel, VinSkip. Robots are emerging to perform tasks that humans just can't. Generally, there are 5 types of robots. Number 1. Pre-programmed robots. Pre-programmed robots operate in a controlled system where they do easy, tedious tasks. An example of pre-programmed robots would be a mechanical arm on an automotive assembly line. The arm serves one function: to bond a door on, to insert a specific part into the engine, etc., and its job is to perform the task longer, faster, and more effectively than a human. Number 2. Humanoid robots. Humanoid robots are robots that look like and/or simulate human behavior. These robots normally perform human-like activities like running, jumping, and carrying items, and are sometimes designed to look like us, even having human faces and expressions. 2 of the most prominent examples of humanoid robots are Hansen's Robotics, Sophia in the video, and Boston Dynamic Atlas. Number 3. Autonomous robots. Independent robots operate independently of human operators. These robots are typically designed to carry out tasks in an open environment that don't require human supervision. An example of a self-governing robot would be the Roomba vacuum, which is using sensing units to roam throughout a home easily. Number 4. Teleoperated robots. Teleoperated robots are mechanical bots controlled by human beings. These robots usually work in severe geographical conditions, weather circumstances, etc. Examples of teleoperated robots are the human-controlled submarines, used to fix underwater pipeline leaks for the spill, or drones used to spot landmines on a battleground. Number 5. Augmenting robots. Enhancing robots either enhance existing human capabilities or change the capabilities a human might have lost. Some examples of augmenting robots are robotic prosthetic limbs or exoskeletons used to raise hefty weights. Manufacturing robots. The production industry is probably the oldest and most widely well-known user of robots. Those robots and cobots, bots that work alongside human beings, work to effectively check and put together products like cars and commercial equipment. It's approximated that there are more than 3 million industrial robots in use right now. Logistics. Shipping, dealing with, and quality assurance, robots are becoming an essential for most retailers and logistic businesses. Just because we now expect our packages arriving at blazing speeds, logistics companies employ robots in warehouses and even on the roadway to help make the most of time efficiency. Right now, there are robots taking your products off the shelves, carrying them across the warehouse floor, and packing them. Additionally, an increase in last-mile robots that will autonomously deliver your package to your door, guarantee that you will have a face-to-metal-face encounter with a logistics bot in the near future. Home. It's not science fiction anymore. Robots can be seen all over our homes, aiding with tasks, advising us on our schedules, and even entertaining our children. The most well-known example of home robots is the self-governing vacuum Roomba. In addition, robots have now developed to do everything from autonomously mowing grass to cleaning pools. Travel. Is there anything more science fiction than the independent lorries? These self-driving automobiles are no longer just imagination. A mix of data, science, and robotics. Self-driving vehicles are taking the world by storm. Car manufacturers like Tesla, Ford, Waymo, Volkswagen, and BMW are working on the next wave of travel that will let us kick back, unwind, and enjoy the ride. Rideshare firms Uber and Lyft are also developing autonomous rideshare automobiles that don't require humans to run the vehicle. Healthcare. Robots have made massive strides in the healthcare industry. Those mechanical marvels have use in practically every element of healthcare, from the robot-assisted surgical treatments to bots that help human beings recuperate from injury in physical therapy. Examples of robots that work in healthcare are Toyota's healthcare assistants, which help people regain the ability to walk, and Pull, a robot designed to autonomously walk throughout a hospital and provide every little thing from medications to clean linens. Chapter 4. The Future of Robots. It's days like today that I'm rather certain that the robot uprising isn't going on wherever quickly. That's what one of Blake Hanford's college students told him recently after encountering some obstacles in a lab. A robotics professor at the University of Washington in Seattle, Hanford knew exactly what he meant. I'm never going to rule stuff out, Hanford, whose work focuses primarily on robotic surgery, said of potential advances. But if you review sci-fi from the 50s and 60s and compare it to today, it truly fizzled. In fact, you could argue pop culture in general has messed up robots, or at least the majority of people's ideas of what robots actually are. According to films and TV, they're bickering Star Wars chums R2-D2 and C-3PO. They're Star Trek's superhuman Data, and Futurama's Boozy Bender, and obviously they are Arnold Schwarzenegger's murderous turned virtuous cyborg in the Terminator flicks. That man's the largest robo-cliché of all, or perhaps it's RoboCop. Rough call. It may not amaze you in the least to learn that robots are actually none of these. Lots of them look absolutely nothing like human beings, and all of them, even the more stunning models, are pretty rudimentary in their capabilities. In some cases, they are intentionally ludicrous, like the crappy devices of Simone Giertz. It's not to imply a lack of development at companies and universities all over the world. Engineers and computer scientists are devising ways to make robots more perceptive and dexterous, more human-like in cognitive ability, and sometimes appearance in storage facilities and factories at junk food joints and clothes retailers. They are already working alongside human beings. That one in Germany can even pick like a champ. They have even started to perform functions that have usually been the domain of people, like making coffee, caring for the senior, and most importantly, ferrying toilet tissue. One Redwood City, California-based startup just got $32 million in a series of moneying to further develop its own robot waiters. And here's a cool new schlepper bot named Gita. They are even multiplying down on the farm. However, no matter which sector they serve, robots are far less sophisticated than many thought they'd be by now. Decades ago, Hanford said, everybody was concentrated on energy and theorizing people's uses of it. They thought a jet can fly to Europe, so in 2020, we will have the ability to go to Mars in a guest vehicle. What they missed, he went on, is the energy didn't scale, indicating that according to Moore's law, a concept now commonly considered defunct, that the number of performance-boosting transistors on a computer microchip will double each 2 years. The cost per system of energy couldn't come by 50% each 18 months, decennium after decade, like the cost of significantly effective computers did. But other factors continue to have a substantial impact on computing and, as a result, robotics. Computing power per watt of electricity, for instance, is growing significantly in everyday terms. That means your mobile phone can do more with the same battery life. It also means quicker advances in artificial intelligence, things like computer systems, vision, and natural language processing that helps robots see and learn. The writing is more efficient software code is another way to enhance robotic efficiency. In a couple of decades, maybe robots might do most of our coding. Robots may take your job. Moving forward, Hannaford's son said robots will free up people's brains to perform other, more complex jobs. But just as the commercial revolution displaced many human beings who performed manual work, the robotics revolution won't happen and isn't going on without pain and fear and disturbance. There's going to be a lot of people who fall by the wayside, he said, of the countless jobs that will be automated or vanish entirely. More than 120 million workers around the world, 11.5 million in the U.S., will really need retraining just in the next few years because of the displacement caused by AI robots, according to a recent IBM study for Business Value Study. Not all of them will get the retraining, obviously, but the people who do will be more apt to land new types of jobs introduced to them by the robot revolution. In a warehouse setting, for example, those who shift to other jobs that need higher skills such as thinking and complex movement are at far less of a risk of getting robo-bumped, and they will get bumped. Vince Martinelli, head of the marketing at Right Hand Robotics outside of Boston, is confident that simple but prevalent jobs like storage facility order picking will mostly be done by robots in 10 to 20 years. Right now, though, the innovation just isn't there. But some professionals say the more robots surpass people, the more people will be expected to keep up. As we begin to compare the speed and effectiveness of humans to robots, there is a whole new set of health and safety issues that emerge. Beth Gutelis, Associate Director of the Center for Urban Economic Development at the University of Illinois, Chicago, told the New York Times. That's another argument for retraining, as authors Marcus Casey and Sarah Nazow noted in the current Brookings Institution post entitled Robots Kill Jobs. However, they create jobs too. The development of innovations that fracture new jobs for a time, which humans beings are better matched, could potentially lead to a much better future for the workers. While the extensive intro of computers into workplaces certainly displaced countless secretaries and typists, the new tasks in associated industries means new corporations, including computer specialists, software application developers, and IT specialists. But humans are still way smarter than robots. When people see a robot do something, even if it is really an easy job, like choosing things and setting them down, they are immediately picturing it, how it can get to harder things, Martinelli said. We get tons of questions when people are looking at the system. And we have to keep advising them that what's basic for you and me to do is actually rather sophisticated. To more effectively drive the point home, Right Hand developed a game called Pick Like a Robot that needs 3 people to perform a robotics function. A single person is blindfolded and given a pair of metal tongs. They supervise getting the object in question. Another functions as the robot's vision system by putting their finger on whichever item they really want the picker to choose. The third individual is the robot's intelligence, accountable for assisting the picker to properly get the items. As in robotics, the difficulty is to smoothly incorporate all of those systems. It is no shock, incredibly challenging. Echoing Hanford's grad student Robotic Systems Incorporation, COO, Raj Bashan defines them as just a dumb piece of hardware. Their development, he said, is dependent on human resourcefulness and advancements. AI that will imbue them with more human-like cognitive abilities that engage them more, precisely view, reason, and learn. Facebook, for instance, has apparently developed a reinforcement learning algorithm that lets robots navigate different internal environments sans mapping. Once AI-driven robots can exceed or perhaps match people in more than a simple and repetitive pre-programmed task, we will truly be onto something. People have 100,000 years of advancements that makes us truly proficient at tasks we take for granted. Bashan said when it comes to the industrial automation niche his company serves, I think maybe there's a misconception that they will have more than they actually will have the ability to do. And though they were certain increasing the number of years after that, it may console you to know that U.S. and Mexico-based companies ordered fewer robots in 2019. Drones, the non-bombing kind, are robots too. Like their commercial third or fourth cousins, commercial drones, not to be confused with bomb-dropping military drones, have been around in forms for many decades, and although they are continuously being improved, they're minimal performance-wise. In the U.S., these normally modest-size UAVs, unmanned aerial lorries, are hampered by strict Federal Air Travel Administration guidelines that prevent their prevalent usage, specifically for industrial purposes. But that's gradually changing. According to PwC, the worldwide drone market is presently worth around $127 billion, an evaluation that will only rise as adoption increases in a range parts, including home package delivery and medical transport. A March 2019 New York Times story titled "Skies Are Clogged with Drones, Yet Do Not Rule Them Out" noted that e-commerce drone deliveries have already been greenlit in China. A comparable scenario in the U.S., however, depends upon whether regulators ultimately allow drone firms to have independent systems in which multiple aircraft are overseen by one pilot, and whether they can fly beyond the vision of that pilot. One drone company doing just that is Wings Air Travel, LLC. It is owned by Google parent Alphabet and helmed by CEO James Burgess, who told The Times, "Scale doesn't concern us right now. We highly believe that eventually we will be able to develop a shipment for service for communities that will allow them to transport items in just some minutes at low cost." Citizen added, Wing is also working on development an unnamed traffic management system to keep an eye on all of the robotic flying machines that might be at some point appear as common birds. However, as drone expert James Rogers argued over the current essay for the Bulletin of the Atomic Researchers, there are drawbacks to the grand-scale proliferation. Together, drones already are sparking issues over safety and privacy. Tomorrow's will be far better, and for that reason, far worse. And not simply because they may be geese-like gaggles of them buzzing to and fro. Think of today's nefarious drones as a Model T or harmful drones, Rogers wrote. As drone innovations grow even more sophisticated, proliferating in an untreated and under-regulated manner, hostile drone events will increase in effect and number. In predicting that drones will be central to the delivery of crucial items and services that keep a nation functioning, commercially and socially, Rogers said there'll be regular employees for mail delivery, police, fire reaction, and emergency situation health purposes, among others that are identified. And each of those sectors, he added, somewhat ominously, will try to harness the speed and cost-effectiveness of drones, leaving civilization increasingly vulnerable. Robots that look and move like humans and animals have limited appeal for now. Beyond a factory or warehouse setting, some say it's useful for robots to look more like people. They're where humanoids are available in. You may have seen these currently non-sentient artificial beings tend to bars and slinging six-shooters in HBO's sci-fi drama Westworld. However, their utility in real life depends on the circumstance. Over at the Right Hand Robotics, Martinelli said that the current focus is on a larger community adoption of robots that can solve particular problems in business settings, and even some really excellent and sensor-packed models that can run, leap, and flip, consisting of several from Boston Dynamics that aren't in the classification, not yet anyhow. Boston Dynamics CEO Mark Raybert has said his long-term objective is to build robots that have the functional levels of efficiency that are equal or greater than people and animals. I do not mean that they need to work the manner in which people and animals work, or that they have to look like them, just at the level of efficiency concerning the ability to move around in the world, the capability to use our hands. Recently, the company's robot dog Spot was made available to a handful of early clients to see how they would fare in a real world. The jury's still out, and will be for a bit of time, but it's a start. As Will Jackson, director of United Kingdom-based Engineered Arts, told the BBC TV, humanoid robots are great for home entertainment, and they're great for communication. If you want something that interacts with people, the best way to do that is to make something person-shaped, like this invention from Agility Robotics, dubbed Digit, and reportedly priced in the low to mid six figures. It is intended for vehicle-to-doorway delivery of packages weighing 40 pounds or less. Could we see all the armies of these things in the years ahead? Perhaps. Of course, one of the biggest problems we have is that there absolutely is nothing as good as the human muscle, Jackson explained. We do not come any place close to what a human can do. The way you will see humanoid robots is in an industrial context. So you might get into a shop, you might see a robot in there, and that you're trying to sell you something. Don't worry about all the clever AI that's really going to remain on your computer. It's not going to chase up with you the stairs any time. Robotics are going. But scientists in a newish specific niche called soft robotics are working on imitating human movement, developing high extreme performance brains in extremely difficult. Getting the robots to physically respond like people do is listening harder, as the mechanical engineer Christoph Kepler signed throughout the interesting TED Talk in late 2018. The human body makes extensive usage of soft and deformable materials in life, muscles and skin. If robots' bodies that inspired by the sophistication, effectiveness, and the soft materials of the design found in the nature, calling natural muscle a real work of art, of development, that can heal after but's been damaged and is securely incorporated with the sensory neurons for feedback on movement and the environment. Kieplinger described his efforts to building artificial muscles called soft activators that are as flexible and adaptable as the real thing. To that end, he and his team in Stone, Colorado developed something they dubbed Hazel. Can be adapted to provide larger forces for moving heavy things, dialed down for more precise movement, and set to provide extremely fluidic muscle-like movement and bursts of power to soar a ball into the air. Besides being compatible with massive production applications, he noted, Hazel technologies also could be used to enhance the lifestyle for one who really needs prosthetic limbs and other people who would take advantage of enhanced agility and dexterity. Perhaps we can call it robotics for anti-aging, Keplinger said, or even a stage name of human evolution. For Hanford, investing in education is the best way to both boost mood and harness the effects of robots. He regretted it, though, that civilization does far too little of that, and thus is woefully underprepared not only for what's coming, but what's going on at this moment among industrialized nations, he said. The USA is especially susceptible. Many Americans are geared up to earn their liberty in a future civilization where all the routine tasks are automated. That's going to be a big, huge issue, but it is ultimately understanding by the raising of our educational endeavors. When it comes to the consultant concept of a post-apocalyptic hellscape patrolled by homicidal cyborgs, that is pure fiction. Probably. What we're living in, though, now, and what the future holds more of, is what robotist Ken Goldberg has described as multiplicity. It's much friendlier than what's called the singularity, a point at which humans are hypothetically overtaken by totally independent and even sentient robots. Truth be told, Goldberg told Wire in 2017 multiplicity is something that's going on right now, and it's the idea of people and machines collaborating. When you order up a car by means of Uber or Lyft, that is multiplicity. Or when, down the roadway, you ride in a self-driving vehicle, that is multiplicity also. The way we have to begin thinking about robots isn't as a threat, but as something we can work with in a collaborative way, he added. A lot of it is changing our own mindsets. This has been Artificial Intelligence, Robots, Applications, and Machine Learning in a Nutshell by John Adamson. Narrated by Casey Logan. The end. This has been Artificial Intelligence, Understanding Business Applications, Automation, and the Job Market by John Adamson. Narrated by Casey Logan. Chapter 1. Artificial Intelligence. I thought that I would lay some groundwork. Everyone understands that the terms AI and artificial intelligence, ML, are being used with increasing frequency, and to mean all sorts of things, ranging from a much better world to the end of the world. AI is a subdiscipline of computer science that was started in the late 50s by Alan Turing, for whom the Turing Award in Computer Technology is named, and who broke the Enigma code during World War II. Marvin Minsky and John McCarthy, who actually coined the term AI. The field was officially launched in 1956 at a conference at my university, Dartmouth College. The early days. Knowledge representation. AI began as electronic logical reasoning. The goal in the early days was to offer computer systems with the facts and rationale assertions, guidelines, in the hope that at some point the computer system would display human-like intelligence. By the way, Alan Turing is also popular for developing the Turing test for artificial intelligence. A program passes the Turing test if while speaking with it an individual can't tell whether it's human or a computer system program. This style of AI, commonly described as knowledge representation, was widely hyped, but rapidly hit the limits of its effectiveness, especially given the limited computing resources available in the 1960s. Artificial intelligence and robots had also started to seize the public's creativity, with human-like robots becoming a common theme in films, like Robbie the Robot in Forbidden World, 1956, and HAL from 2001: A Space Odyssey. The perception began to arise that artificial intelligence could actually produce thinking devices, and that the machines were bound to be contemptuous of humans and, eventually, homicidal. Computer science research at the time was funded mostly by federal governments, primarily the U.S. federal government and primarily from the Defense Advanced Research Study Projects firm, DARPA. The overhyping followed by the absence of results from AI, researchers triggered the financing for AI to dry up, while areas like networks, running systems, setting languages, and my own area of graduate study, database management systems, continued to be supported. This cycle of buzz, followed by disappointing results, followed by funding cuts, repeated itself several times, causing a number of AI winter times of the year. In the 1960s, with the failure of machine translation of Russian to English and the failure of the first neural network machine, the perceptron, in the 1970s, when the Mansfield Amendment triggered DARPA to defund pure research, and when the Carnegie Mellon's Shrew speech understanding system didn't produce usable results quickly enough. In the 1980s and 1990s, when Japan terminated the fifth-generation task, the Lisp device market collapsed, and the pledge of expert systems as tools in market was unsatisfied. By the early 2000s, the term AI had such a bum rap that scientists began to call it other names, like informatics. However, AI scientists gave us Siri, Google Translate, and even Google Search. The rise of artificial intelligence. Quickly after artificial intelligence became an official discipline, interest in artificial intelligence emerged as a subdiscipline. artificial intelligence in the pursuit of the means of creating computers or programs that enhance their ability to perform a particular job gradually without being reprogrammed. In other words, they learn. The focus of most artificial intelligence scientists on knowledge likeness as the means to attain artificial intelligence triggered a rift with the group pursuing possibility, or statistics-based artificial intelligence. While knowledge representation depends on sets of facts and rules written by people, analytical artificial intelligence needs data to be examined to find statistical patterns or very likely outcomes. In the early days of computing, neither approach seemed better than the other. The amount of data and computing capability needed for statistical machine learning were well beyond the reach of even the biggest computing installations. Nonetheless, as the amount of information of all kinds has exploded, and as access to calculating power has also grown, statistical artificial intelligence has become useful, and it is the method used to achieve nearly all AI today: machine translation, speech recognition, and speech generation, health diagnoses, and general pattern recognition, etc. How we use artificial intelligence. In artificial intelligence review, we use machine learning to imitate the decision-making of human risk experts. An analyst is shown with an inquiry, including a person's name and potentially some place information, at the very least nation, and potentially their date or year of birth. All potential matches of that person, people with comparable names in nearby locations and approximately the same age, exist to the analyst, who decides whether to generate an alert or not. Alerts are then sent along to an RDC consumer, such as a bank, whose own risk experts look at the information and decide whether to raise the alert or not. With decades of our experts' decisions to use, we created a statistical model that uses the same information as an RDC expert and produces the probability of an alert. We feed the output from the international model into a second model that we produce from the choices of the experts at the client, the somebody that received the alert from RDC. The second model produces the likelihood that the consumer's analyst would have raised the alert or not. With more information, the models become better and better at mimicking analysts' conduct. That is, they learn to process queries. The accomplished results that we've seen to date from our artificial intelligence evaluation proofs of concept have been exceptionally encouraging. Next week, I will go into more detail about this kind of machine learning, predictive analytics, walk through some results, and discuss how RDC uses its practice and when slipping up has the potential to be dreadful. Chapter 2. Can AI write books? I would say that everyone, at least once, has read an algorithmically produced post, said Robert Weisgraber, CTO and Managing Director of AX Semantics. Not everybody can tell, however. Oftentimes, readers do not see an important difference between human and bot-authored copy. Weisgraber told Built-In he would know. His company, AX Semantics, is just one of some, including story science and automated insights exploring natural language generation or automated writing. The innovation can be used to produce product descriptions, quarterly income reports, fantasy football wrap-ups, and journalism. The Washington Post, for instance, has developed an AI-enabled bot, Heliograph, that helps produce election and sports coverage. Meanwhile, in Germany, where AX Semantics is based, the Stuttgarter Zeitung's AI-augmented reporting on air pollution recently won a journalism award. We call it Kasparov movement, Weisgraber said, comparing the win to the moment chess grandmaster Garry Kasparov lost a game to a supercomputer. Human authors aren't thrilled to be taking on algorithms. Their employment potential customers were already relatively bleak. In 2019, practically 4,000 reporters, many of them writers, lost their jobs in a reckoning one author termed the media Armageddon. This year, the coronavirus pandemic has prompted another industry-wide round of layoffs and furloughs. "We have gotten death threats," Vice Graber said. Does natural language generation spell the end of the already besieged writing profession? The Post newsroom does not seem to think so. "We're naturally careful about any technology that could replace people," Frederick Kunkel, a reporter for the Post and co-chair of the paper's union, told The Wire of Heliograph. But this innovation appears to have taken control of only some of the grunt work. Vice Graber seconds this. AX semantics technology, he said, is about automating the boring part of writing. He said, "I always say that it makes sure that you don't need to do overtime." Natural language generation solves a core business issue with writing. It does not scale well. An author can write one 1,000-word short article in a week, no problem. But that author can easily increase to 10,000 such articles each week when demand spikes. And in the web age, the need for content has increased. Even if you're a little e-commerce shop, you have 20,000 items, and you have to show up on Google, and you need to conversion optimize your text, Vice Graber said. Business can't recycle provider copy either, though readers do not normally mind repetitive language. Vice Graber said, Google's search algorithms focus on special content. So in the past few years, the amount of content needed exploded. Natural language generation helps fill that need. Most present innovation, Vice Graber clarified, operates in information-to-text space, changing structured data, like a cardigan's size, style, material, brand, and cost, into a piece of prose. A human could pen that text result too, certainly, but they couldn't easily scale it to 2,000 almost but not quite identical cardigans, or translate each of those descriptions into 20 languages. Vice Graber estimates a project like that would take a group of at least 20 authors, translators, and editors, and they'd be bored out of their minds. Natural language generation can automate most of that process, however. AX semantics software application can also translate text into 110 languages. Conversion optimization presents comparable problems. AX semantics clients usually ask if they are supposed to use official or informal language in their online stores. Vice Graber said, testing to figure out can need new, tonally tweaked versions of countless product descriptions that would take people ages to produce. AX Semantics' natural language generation software application, though, can move text from formal to informal at the push of a button. Needless to say, this wasn't always possible. Early natural language processing looked more like Mad Libs than advanced technology. The earliest efforts at it were template-based systems for writing regional weather reports. These systems were automated, but in a fairly rote way. They essentially plugged in new numbers into old prose, Vice Graber said. Some forecast-generating attempts go back to the 1980s, but even by the aughts, natural language generation had not developed that much. When StatSheet debuted in 2007, it instantly published real-time information on college basketball games and players. It was still template-based, natural language generation. It had just moved onto the web. These systems began getting smarter about 5 years ago, though. According to Vice Graber, artificial intelligence advanced to the point where it could learn languages without comprehensive manual setup. Instead, algorithms could simply ingest reading materials in a given language and learn that language autonomously from the unstructured data. This made natural language generation more effortless. AI-enabled natural language generation software application could translate quickly, check its own grammar, surface area synonyms to guarantee a text's uniqueness, and manage its tone. This was a powerful upgrade, but natural language processing still isn't as powerful as a human writer. To go back to the example of a cardigan, it's apparent to a human what a cardigan is, but AI has not a single clue what the word symbolizes, what place a cardigan inhabits in our culture, or why a cardigan has buttons. You need to teach the system what features mean, Vice Graber said. So if you're writing about a cardigan and it has buttons, you tell it what they are for to close the cardigan so you can stay warm when it's chilly. This kind of knowledge or domain know-how has to be added into natural language generation software application by hand, but it only has to be added once, in the form of an if-then declaration. For instance, if buttons, then you can button it up on cold nights. As soon as the user produces and prioritizes enough if-then declarations, the software application can make proper micro-decisions, Weisgraber said, and pen thousands of cardigan descriptions. In other words, a person still has to efficiently write the first cardigan description, but natural language generation can turn that into thousands of descriptions. The published descriptions can remain linked to the back-end database too, the data piece of the data to text, which means that the text updates any time that the database does. AX Semantics calls this function live editing. This not only means that repairing back-end errors instantly fixes front-end copy mistakes, but also that superlatives update constantly. So if an e-commerce shop promotes one cardigan as its most affordable and then begins equipping a new, even cheaper cardigan, the most affordable tag relocates to the new offering instantly. Human copywriters just can't offer that level of long-lasting precision, nor should they be asked to. But they can offer just one thing AI still can't: creativity. The existing cutting edge of natural language generation is that you either have creativeness or control, Weisgraber explained. AX Semantics focuses mostly on control, which means a manual setup process, though some other tools in the field focus more on creativity. Talk to Transformer, for instance, can create a portion of text based on quick timely, but the AI doesn't actually know the meaning of what it's saying. It's just putting things together, words that it has seen together previously. There's lots of room for development, though. Readers might have seen algorithmically penned text, but Weisgraber bewares to distinguish this from prevalent adoption of natural language generation software. He estimates that about 1,000 companies use NLG products, and though they use them broadly, that's still essentially nothing concerning a user base. The field's nearest term difficulty, he said, is attracting new clients who will introduce new use cases and influence new functions. Weisgraber also sees AI and automation growing more powerful, although algorithms cannot conduct their own research anytime soon. In a decade, he forecasts, they'll have the ability to generate research documents from outlines, to the annoyance of teachers all over. Chapter 3: Using AI for Business. AI is quickly evolving, and businesses across many markets stand to take advantage of this innovation. From simply administrative jobs to enhancing market projects, there are many ways AI can increase efficiency and performance. While it's still in its early days of adoption by companies, you may find artificial intelligence can give you a considerable advantage as you search for ways to execute it within your own company. We asked the members of the Young Business Owner Council for some specific ways businesses can leverage AI today and see fast results. Their best responses are beneath. Number 1. Training and learning. Through AI, we can train more individuals and boost their learning. Gaps in knowledge will be filled quicker and easier through artificial intelligence exams and training. Your team will now be more positive in doing their jobs and more equipped than ever. Quickly, you'll see how an individual grows and improves within the company, and more people will be influenced to learn. Daisy Jing Banish. Number 2. Decision automation. The main factor to effective AI application is creating leverage. Beneficial artificial intelligence makes decisions rapidly and frees up your executive team for other work. Leverage differs for every single business. Here is an example. If you do not spend a lot of time handling leads, then you do not bother with a chatbot. Or, if your COO is always dealing with providers, then automate your quote choice process. Nathan Clarer, Innovation Business Owner. Number 3, website analytics. Since many organizations have a site, tracking data through site analytics is a great tool. It's so handy to know what is trending and what people are looking for so you can enhance your site's SEO method. Because of that, this helps your website ranking improve. For this reason, helping your business rapidly end up being more familiar to your target audience. John Hall, Calendar. Number 4, hyper-targeted advertising. Developments in AI have made it simpler for algorithms to detect your ad's target audience. Similarity-based explainable AI, XAI, uses device learning to find tactical advertisement placements and recommendations based on how your audience reacts to your project. Tools that run XAI applications remove much of the legwork in positioning your ads for maximum return on investment. Amy Rahal, Iron Monk Solutions. Number 5, pattern acknowledgement. Use artificial intelligence to look for patterns in your information. When you have a lot of organized information, you are going to have the ability to use AI to make better business choices that you could be missing with the naked eye. Download your traffic data, CRM data, and any other organized data that you have, and use AI to analyze the patterns. Solomon Timothy 1 IMS. Number 6, enhancing mundane tasks. Using artificial intelligence to take ordinary jobs out of the hands of staff members is a great way to see fast results. Besides, the data garnered from having artificial intelligence manage these tasks is more precise, more increasing than performance of your team. Andrew Scargi, Money Crashers Personal Finance. Number 7, virtual help. All business managers need virtual help at some point in their work, just like Alexa, Siri, and Google now serve as assistants in people's daily lives. Apart from talking home devices, VAs are taking control of the e-commerce platforms. For example, Amazon has incorporated Alexa into its platform, where users can look for products and current gigs online. Kelly Richardson, Infobrands. Number 8, influencer marketing optimization. Striking a solid deal with the right influencers can be hard. With AI-powered artificial intelligence, however, you can recognize that the right influencers for your market audience and target reach. Those tools can anticipate how well an influencer will perform with your particular item campaign and ensure you get the most of your market method. Matthew Podolsky, Florida Law Advisors, PA. Number 9, possibility designs. Try the artificial intelligence applications already working in areas like facial recognition on Facebook to forecast habits across your social media in your month-to-month tactical strategies for social networks. Run an AI application probability model to measure favored metrics. Probabilistic modeling helps forecast conversions, likes, and kinds of content efficiency based on existing data. Matthew Kabbalah, Alphametic. Number 10, social media belief analysis. A social network's listening tool will pick up brand and item discussions and aggregate them for you. Sentient analysis will let you know if your audience is expressing a positive, negative, or neutral feeling. Picture what it is in effect that will have on handling PR. You'll be able to pick up important information rapidly and step in to mitigate any significant problems. This is a solid way that artificial intelligence can help. Saeed Balki, WP Beginner. Number 11, material production. Most services have blog sites, and if those blogs don't provide relevant, important information, then they'll fail to drive traffic and create sales. AI can help your business develop topics, appropriate your market, that also rank well in search engines so your blog site has a higher chance of exposure. Stephanie Wells, Powerful Forms. Number 12, image management. There are many reasons a firm might deal with images. If you have an e-commerce site, your sellers need to submit images to showcase their products. Most people also insert images when submitting guest posts. AI can immediately process and tag unsuitable images, replicate pictures or poor quality ones so that they get flagged. This saves you time and prevents significant problems. Blair, Williams, Member Press. Number 13. On-site chatbots. Most firms have a live chat service that they use to help customers. Quite a few of them are starting to add chatbots to their websites with live agents. The bots function as marketing tools, a client resource website, and as a self-service application for solving simple issues, like changing a password. It is clear that AI in this example plays a popular role in exponential development. Chris Christoph, Monster Insights. Number 14. Retargeting. You visited an e-commerce shop or any site, but didn't complete the purchase. Now that you are seeing their ads on every site, you check out. That is AI at work. Chapter 4. Touchscreens versus voice recognition. In March 2020, quickly after the coronavirus had been deemed a nationwide crisis, I walked into a 7-Eleven to pick up a late-night snack. Taped to the door was a makeshift sign warning not to touch the Slurpee device to limit the risk of viral spread. I glanced at the coolers filled with sodas, the touchscreen payment reader next to the cash register, the plastic surface area of the smart device case that would have been touched nearly 2,600 times that day. Perhaps the Slurpee machine was riskier by some small degree than these other surface areas. But by how much? The entire strange episode called me to really wonder if people could recall this time as the death knell of public touchscreens, or at least the dawn of a new period in conversant user interfaces, an age in which our voices, not our hands, would help us navigate the world. Just a few weeks later, I discovered some low-level verification for the principle. A Colorado-based company, Valiant AI, was pilot testing a new way of ordering food at a quick-serve dining establishment using a voice-controlled kiosk supported by AI. It must be said, there's restrictions, if any research, to indicate how typical transference is by surface area contact. Professionals really believe close person-to-person contact is the primary perpetrator for corona. But several studies suggest it is possible, and that includes an analysis in the New England Journal of Medicine that found SARS-CoV-2 could remain viable on copper for up to 4 hours, on cardboard up to 24 hours, and on plastic and stainless steel for up to 72 hours. Even if we do not totally comprehend how it spreads, it is clear the risk of contact transference is influencing customer conduct. A survey from Shekel found 2/3 of the USA clients are using self-checkout, and that 87% would choose to go shopping in stores with touchless or robust self-checkout alternatives. The idea for a voice-enabled drive-through seems well-timed, if only to cut down on the wait times. The snaking lines of vehicles extending from Starbucks and McDonald's drive-through windows appears a short-term trademark of the age, which innovation is equipped to resolve. Experts like Mark Webster, director of Item Voice UI/UX at Adobe, says Valiant's AI talking kiosk is just one example of the ways in which conversational AI is being more pervasive. While personal assistants like Amazon, Alexa, and Google Home are making their way to individuals' houses, companies like Salesforce and Adobe are integrating voice-enabled user interfaces into their business platforms to streamline information input and retrieval. Meanwhile, Apple Pay and Square are allowing for cashless payments at checkout, and Amazon, which already offers cashierless checkout at its Go stores, just recently applied for a patent for palm recognition innovation, according to Vox, which would identify people by attributes associated with the palms of their hands, and that includes wrinkles and veins. Arnobio Morlix, Chief Development Officer at the startup Genome in San Francisco, who is at work on a book about post-pandemic economic patterns called The Great Reboot, said interest in financial investment in touchless interfaces is not just a short-range blip. Pointing out data from the Office for National Statistics, he said internet sales in the United Kingdom now represent 30% of all sales, up from 20% a year ago, and the curve has seen a significant uptick since the start of the coronavirus. So I think the huge thing we are seeing happening now, and we'll continue to see happening, is that something that was really cheap and simple to do, human-to-human contact, got really, really costly, right? Morlix said, and risky. As this human touch gets riskier, People are changing to anything that you can do contactless. I think some of the first waves of this have been this bridge from in-person to online retail. Later waves, he said, could discuss anything from mass transit terminals to workplaces and producing plants. Not just a smart device, however. How my AirPods connect with my watch and my phone so as to communicate digitally and through voice. Specialists like Webster and Morlix really believe we're on the brink of an enormous shift in user experience design and product development. The shift, they say, will open up new chances for UX and UI designers, as well as item supervisors whose jobs will focus a lot more on voice user interfaces, not as a standalone platform, but as part of an interconnected mobile communities. Not just a smartphone, Webster said, but how my AirPods interact with my watch and my phone, so as to communicate digitally and through voice. As this shift happens, said Dwayne Samuels, a product manager turned CEO at SamLogic, new UX and UI design roles will show up in three critical areas. The field of voice user interface development is so young and swarming with questions, Webster said, that best practices have yet to be conceived. Designers will need to choose how systems will input voice commands, how automated speech or virtual hints can provide reactions, and how personified they want the interfaces to be. Whether you make a voice interface conversational is itself a design decision, he said. You could obtain the metaphor of having a conversation with an entity, an individual, or a voice assistant, or it could be something like the Spotify mobile app, where you are using voice as form of input, but all of the results are visual. Much work has already been done, Webster said. Speech recognition software application has become adept at understanding and transcribing voice inputs. Computer-generated voices can faithfully reproduce the tone and intonation of human speech. Conceptual models for structuring user flow already exist. I can close my eyes and I can think of what Gmail appears like and what happens when I click New, Webster said. There's just an entire bunch of psychological models that designers need to latch onto, and a lot of those come from non-voice user interfaces. But Webster sees a huge gray area when it comes to natural language processing, how AI extracts the intent of what someone is attempting to do, and after that has a reaction to it. That's the harder part to solve, but putting more work into the design of the voice experience itself, how pleasant and human-sounding it can be, might be able to ease some of the engineering pain of attempting to improve deep learning, Webster said. Even small verbal signals can result in usual feedback loops. Whether or not you make a voice user interface conversational is itself a style decision. When Alexa initially came out before you could select a default music player, I remember my 2-year-old daughter would ask it to play something on Spotify because she would hear the feedback of saying X is using Spotify. Webster said she knew on Spotify was a thing you needed to add on to demand it to play properly. Webster admits that onboarding to voice interfaces takes time, but he said issues over the coronavirus could make people more willing to invest it. Once you onboard someone and they're actually fast at it and never need to fumble through TV screens and by hand get in a Salesforce record to see the value, Webster said. So the idea is voice could be more ubiquitous than it is right now with today's technology if there was a higher focus on design of these things. If touchless user interfaces acquired momentum in 2015, after Google head of design method Golden Krishna waged war on shallow time-sucking apps, in the best interface is no user interface, the more recent developments come down to free market economics. Morlix is an example of his forthcoming book, published in Incorporated, indicates that the coronavirus pandemic has triggered an economic destabilization that has made it more pricey to deliver items and services elsewhere in the world, specifically those involving touch. The largest cost included is risk of infection, right? Morlix said. More people are avoiding getting out of the home as much as they can, and they are avoiding touching things once they do get out. While he anticipates the economic healing going on over the phases of 18 months, the early effects will leave an enduring effect as substitute items and services replace those that existed previously. Similar to lower computing costs, introduced a switch from chemistry-based to digital photography, and spurred increased demand for complementary goods such as nice screens. A supermarket or a restaurant that started offering contactless payments, for example, they're not going to erase the alternative simply because social distancing is no more, right? Therefore, as we appear from social distancing, Morlix clarified the demand for contactless payment via apps such as Apple Pay and Square, now accepted at the grocery store chains like Publix, may decline, but it will not go away totally. A lot of things that got executed will advance, Morlix said. You know, a supermarket or a dining establishment that started offering contactless payments, for instance. They are not going to delete the alternative simply because social distancing is no more, right? One of the people acutely intrigued by how voiceover user interfaces developed is Samuels, who was living in Jamaica and had just recently launched a now dissolved startup when he first met Krishna, who was working at Zappos at the time. Crediting Krishna's prominent book as the basis for much of his thinking, Samuels talks about something called sentient analysis, a term to describe a system that uses video cameras and machine learning to track individuals' movements through stores and spot their baseline emotional responses to particular items. As Amazon defines it in a blog site on its site, it is possible to derive insights from client conduct. For example, which area of the store is often gone to, market segmentation of store traffic, for example, like gender or approximate age, while also examining patterns of client belief, for example, to get insights on how customers react to brand content and signs, end cap displays or marketing campaigns. Or as Samuel summed it up, there's a lot of image recognition and psychological recognition going on. If you pick up a product, and if there is a minor degree of annoyance or pleasure, the system can actually discover it, he said. Where user experience designers could play a critical role in the development of such technology, Samuel said, is making sure software application is accommodated human needs, not the other way around. He points to a 13-step car unlocking app, which Krishna pans in his book as a design failure that could have been avoided with more empathy for the user. If you own a Design X and have the Tesla app, on the other hand, you approach the vehicle and the doors open by itself, Samuel said. What digital experiences does it affect? I think it impacts everything. But even given the advantage of smooth experiences, there are still barriers to the wide-scale adoption of touchless interfaces, one of which is authentication. Automated speech recognition, ASR, has been highly accurate to ensure protected deals at banks or validate the motorist at an automobile. And it isn't there yet, Samuel said. He estimates that ASR works with 92 to 93% precision. Facial recognition, by comparison, is around 98% precise. But if you are twins, the information itself is fungible. And without any taps or clicks to track, and potentially shorter end-to-end purchase times, designers will have fewer information points by which to assess the consumer experience. The designers who succeed in the coming period will be those that can resolve problems by speaking with people and comprehending their needs. Ultimately, Webster said, voice is just another user interface, a form of interaction, like gestures, just like taps, just like clicks, just like swipes. When you think about it that way, what digital experiences does it affect? I think it affects everything. Chapter 5. Deep Fakes. Artificial intelligence has become ubiquitous in people's lives. It offers ideas about what to buy next, advises films, gives us insight on traffic patterns, and even individualizes ads on the web. The most recent addition to our everyday interactions with AI is deepfakes, which are hyper-realistic AI-generated images and videos. Although they're not real, the word fake is in its name after all. People can have a hard time differentiating deepfakes from authentic images. In addition, the number of deep learning applications for the field of AI-generated images and videos is growing. Today's AI-generated images are typically used for artistic purposes. In this respect, they're not unlike computer-generated images, which are similarly used in creative ways. In spite of this, many projects that are now underway are attempting to produce convincing representations of real people and items, which could have a profound impact on individuals' daily lives. The risk of deepfakes. Over the past few years, deepfakes have entered mainstream awareness, blurring the lines between real and fake media. As innovation enhances, it threatens to make that distinction fully discernible. Specifically confusing might have been President Barack Obama's deepfake created by Jordan Peele, which worked as an introduction to the world of deepfakes for many people not already immersed in the innovation. The Obama deepfake looked specifically convincing and suggested we should think more about our own security when it comes to the AI auto-generated content. Deepfakes represent another, potentially darker side of what may happen if advanced technology were readily available to anyone. Large-scale, harmful usage of fake images for disinformation and malware. While it is not possible to totally stop the spread of deepfake content, the current generation of technology represents a possible danger to democracy. As a result, organizations that use deepfake content must take a careful, deliberate method to discourage the misuse of these techniques. On the macro level, this may also include governmental policies related to liability for spreading out misinformation. Consumers really need to be aware of how the innovation works and how to identify generated images. The mechanics of deep learning image acknowledgement. Deep learning AIs are used to creating image representations from data. The information is typically produced from images or video files, but it can also be created from spoken language or some other information. For instance, my platform, Contentize, uses the information to produce text. For instance, imagine that a picture in your cam roll of a smiling woman was created by a neural network rather than being an image you snapped. Could you tell with 100% accuracy that it was fake? Even though deep learning AIs can generate images, they're typically not able to recreate the specific appearance functions or details of the people or things they're fed as data. Rather, various artifacts appear. Although the field of AI is still in its infancy, the technology is developing quickly and finding itself use in many novel ways. For example, artificial intelligence is presently being more popular in the entertainment industry due to recent breakthroughs. For example, Robert De Niro and Al Pacino were digitally de-aged in The Irishman using AI. Hollywood is also heading to digitally reanimate stars from the 50s and 60s in movies. Supposedly, James Dean is going to appear in an upcoming motion picture thanks to AI. Studios are even thinking about using entirely AI-generated stars in films. The increasing elegance of innovation means that we're very likely to encounter increasingly more AI-generated content in our everyday lives. Fake versus synthetic. Taking a big step back, there are two levels on which we can approach deep fake creation and truth. At the creation level, we can compare images that are created by human beings and those created by a device. We can use the term artificial to denote images that are machine-generated. In terms of viewing, a given image can either represent the truth or try to mislead the viewer. We can represent this kind of image with the term fake, as in fake news. Using this taxonomy, we can easily imagine media that is synthetic but true, or human-generated but fake. We should not always discriminate based on the creation of a provided image, but rather what its goal is. Does it intend to misguide us, to promote a prejudice, or to show us an interesting phenomenon and report facts? This is the distinction between fake and true images, and is mostly independent of the image, if it is artificial or human. Having said that, we still really need to be more mindful with what we see on the internet. As a guideline, I do not trust what I see unless I verify it in other sources. With innovation progressing further, I actually believe this is the only way to approach media in general. We should end up being more cautious when reading or watching the news on the internet, particularly from unverified sources or social networks. The cost of spreading misinformation has been lowered significantly over the last few years thanks to the progress in AI. In spite of the dangers, this technology is likely here to stay. After all, AI-generated images can also be useful in a variety of commercial applications, and research advances quickly in image generation. For instance, Samsung engineers have just recently developed practical talking heads that can now be reproduced from a single image. So now AI can even put words in the mouth of the Mona Lisa. Deepfake innovation is prepared to interrupt all types of media and might even change the nature of how we perceive the truth. As consumers of media, we need to be knowledgeable about what we're looking for at and whether it is artificial, fake, or maybe both. Chapter 6. Self-Driving Cars Explained. Presently, there are no legally operating fully autonomous cars in the United States. There are, though, partially autonomous cars, vehicles and trucks with varying quantities of self-automation, from standard vehicles with brakes and lane assistance to highly independent self-driving models. Though still in its infancy, self-driving technology is being progressively common and could significantly transform our transportation system and, by extension, our economy and society. Based upon automaker and innovation company approximates, Level 4 self-driving vehicles could be for sale in the next few years. See the call-out box for specifics on independence levels. Layers of autonomy. Different cars are capable of different levels of self-driving and are typically defined by scientists on a scale of 0 to 5. Level 0. All significant systems are controlled by humans. Level 1. Certain systems like cruise control or automatic braking could be controlled by the automobile one at a time. Level 2. The automobile offers, at the very least, 2 synchronized automatic functions like acceleration and steering, but requires humans for safe operation. Level 4. The automobile can manage all safety-critical functions under certain conditions, but the chauffeur is expected to take over when notified. Level 4. The vehicle is fully autonomous in some driving scenarios, though not all. Level 5. The vehicle is entirely efficient in self-driving in each circumstance. How they work. Various self-driving technologies have been developed by Google, Uber, Tesla, Nissan, and other major automaker researchers and technology firms. While design specifics differ, most self-driving systems produce and maintain an internal map of their surroundings based upon a wide selection of sensing units like radar. Uber's self-driving models use 64 laser beams together with other sensing units to construct their internal map. Google's prototypes have, at numerous stages, used lasers, radar, high-powered cameras, and sonar. Software then processes those inputs, plots a course, and sends instructions to the automobile, which controls acceleration, braking, and steering. Hard-coded guidelines challenge the avoidance algorithms' predictive modeling and SMART item discrimination, i.e., understanding the distinction between a bicycle and a motorcycle, help the software application follow traffic guidelines, and navigate obstacles. Partially autonomous cars may require a human driver to step in if the system experiences uncertainty. Fully autonomous automobiles may not even offer a steering wheel. Self-driving vehicles can be further distinguished as being linked or not, indicating whether they can communicate with other vehicles and/or the infrastructure, such as the next-generation traffic signal. Most prototypes do not currently have this capability. Effects. The costs and benefits of self-driving vehicles are still largely hypothetical. More information is needed to totally evaluate how they will impact drivers, the economy, equity, and ecological and public health. Safety is an overarching concern. Countless people die in automobile accidents every year in the United States, more than 30,000 in 2015. Self-driving cars could hypothetically decrease that number. Software could prove to be less error-prone than people, but cybersecurity is still a chief concern. Equity is another major consideration. Self-driving technology could help set in motion individuals who are unable to drive themselves, such as the elderly or disabled. However, the extensive adoption of independent lorries could also displace millions of people employed as drivers, adversely affecting mass transit funding and perpetuate the existing transport system's oppressions. Environmental impacts are also a very serious concern and a major uncertainty. Available, inexpensive, and practical self-driving vehicles could increase the overall number of miles driven each year. If those automobiles are powered by fuel, then transportation-related environmental emissions could skyrocket. If, though, the automobiles are amazed and paired with a tidy electricity grid, then transportation emissions could drop, perhaps substantially. To the degree that energized self-driving automobiles allow more shared rides, for example through services such as Lyft or Uber, emissions could drop even further. The Union of Concerned Researchers has worked on transportation-related policy problems for decades, and supporters for fair, low-pollution automobiles, fuels, and infrastructure. In February of 2017, we released a policy, Quick, that lays out the difficulties and advantages of self-driving technology, and that includes 7 principles for policymakers, companies, and other stakeholders to use as guides. You can even be involved. Chapter 7. The Future of Jobs. While no one knows what AI's impact on work will be, we can all settle on just one thing. It's disruptive. So far, many have cast that disruption in a negative light and predicted a future in which robots take jobs from human workers. That's one way to look at it. Another is that automation might create more jobs than it displaces. By offering new tools for entrepreneurs, it may also create new industries that we can't imagine now. A current research study from Redwood Software and Sapio Research underscores this view. Individuals in 2017 research studies said that they actually believe that 60% of organizations can be automated in the next 5 years. On the other hand, Gartner anticipates that by 2020, AI will produce more jobs than it displaces. Dennis Mortensen, CEO and creator of xAI, maker of AI brand virtual assistant Amy, concurred. I looked at our firm and 2/3 of the jobs here didn't exist some years ago, said Mortensen. In addition to creating new jobs, AI will also help people do their jobs better, a lot better. At the World Economic Forum in Davos, Paul Daugherty, Accenture's Chief Innovation and Innovation Officer, summed this idea up as human plus machine equates to superpowers. For many reasons, the optimistic view is very likely the more sensible one, but AI's ability to change work is far from preordained. In 2018, workers are not preparing for their futures. The algorithms and information that underlie AI are also flawed and do not show the diverse civilization it's meant to serve. While artificial intelligence will definitely displace some jobs, such displacement has happened long before AI was on the scene. In the past century, we've seen the demise or diminishment of titles like travel agent, switchboard operator, milkman, elevator operator, and bowling street pin setter. Meanwhile, new titles like app developer, social media director, and information scientist have emerged. Daugherty and Jim Wilson, Managing Director of Information Technology and Business Research Study at Accenture Research, have co-authored a book titled Human Plus Device, Reimagining Operating in the Age of AI. In their view, future and present jobs include trainers and explainers. Trainers will teach artificial intelligence systems how to perform and imitate human habits. Explainers will communicate between devices and human supervisors. Trainers. Chatbots have recently become new interaction channels for brand names and consumers. It's no secret, though, that they have typically been stiff and offered inappropriate responses. For instance, we may say it's drizzling again, great, and people would recognize that as sarcasm. A device would not. Understanding language is one element of improving chatbots. Another is empathy. A new wave of startups is interjecting the emotional intelligence into chatbot-based communication. Eugenia Kudya, founder of Replica, said compassionate chatbots like hers rely on human trainers. In the future, I think one of the most fascinating areas of knowledge will be knowing human conduct and psychology, she said. You have to build chatbots in a way that makes people happy and want to accomplish their objectives. Without a specific amount of empathy, it's not going to happen. In addition, businesses like Facebook and Google use humans to moderate content. Facebook currently uses 7,500 people for this purpose. Google's parent company Alphabet also recently said it prepared to have 10,000 people moderating YouTube content. Explainers. Trainers bring a human component to the artificial intelligence systems, but explainers will bridge the gap between the new systems and their human supervisors. C-suite executives, for instance, will be anxious about basing decisions on black box algorithms. They will need explanations in plain English provided by a human to alleviate their issues. Legislation is another motivation. The European Union's General Data Defense Control, which enters into impact this year, includes the right to explanation. That means consumers can question and fight any choice made on an algorithm base that influences them. Such explainers will perform autopsies when the machines make errors. They will also identify the error and help to take steps to avoid comparable mistakes in the future. Empowering the workers, services, and industries. Instead of replacing workers, artificial intelligence can be a tool to help employees work better. A call center staff member, for example, can get instantaneous intelligence about what the caller needs and do their work faster and better. That goes for businesses and industry as well. In another example, in life sciences, Accenture is using deep learning and neural networks to help companies to bring treatments to market faster. In addition to helping existing services, AI can create new ones, such as businesses that include digital-based senior care, AI-based agriculture, and AI-based monitoring of sales calls. Finally, automation can be used to fill presently unfulfilled jobs. As Darty notes, just recently, there's a scarcity of 150,000 truck chauffeurs in the U.S. now. We need automation to enhance the performance of the chauffeurs, the lifestyle of the chauffeurs to attract more people to the industry, he said. Changes we need to make today. It will likely take a decade or so until some AI technology ends up being the standard. While that offers lots of preparation for the shift, few companies are doing something about it now to train their workers. Another little noticed issue is that the name of the AI systems themselves are being created with data and algorithms that do not show the varied American society. Concerning the former, Accenture research shows business leaders do not think that their workers are prepared for AI. However, only 3% of those leaders were reinvesting in training. At a Davos meeting held by Accenture, Fei Li, an associate professor at Stanford University and director of the school's AI laboratory, suggested using AI to retain workers. I think there's a really exciting possibility that machine discovering itself would help us learn in more effective ways and to reskill workers in more efficient ways, she said. As I personally would like to see more investment and thought entering into that element. Another issue to deal with in 2018 is the absence of a variety among the companies creating AI. As Lee noted, the absence of diversity is a predisposition itself. Current research from MIT has underscored this point. MIT Media Lab scientist said she found proof that facial recognition systems acknowledge white faces better than black faces. In specific, the research study found that if the photo was of a white man, the systems guessed correctly more than 99% of the time, but for black women, the portion as between 20% and 34%. Such biases have implications for the usage of facial recognition for police, marketing, and hiring. As such research illustrates, AI might emerge as an alien force of interruption, but it's actually a human development that reflects its creator's flaws and humanities. The influence of AI on jobs is totally, absolutely within our control. Kathy Besant, Chief Operations and Chief Innovation Officer of Bank of America, said in her Davos chat, "This isn't what we let artificial intelligence do to the labor force. It's how we manage its usage to the good of the workforce." Artificial Intelligence: Understanding Business Applications, Automation, and the Job Market by John Adamson. Narrated by Casey Logan.